The great dragon attempted a legendary summoning to call forth a goddess of miracles and healing. However, instead of a divine being, Ojin appeared. Disoriented and confused, he believed his final hour had struck. Memories of his past life flooded his mind like a broken dam. The hellish years of veterinary school, the endless reprimands, the moment he finally grasped his license, only to endure 3 years of poverty while saving abandoned souls. After clawing his way through despair, our protagonist finally achieved his dream to open a clinic of his own, but reality was cruel. Silence filled the waiting room, and even the light of his signboard flickered and died. One fateful night, crushed by the weight of debt and hopelessness, a sound pierced the darkness. In the blink of an eye, our boy was transported to a cavern, shimmering with gold and a blazing summoning circle. Certain he had fallen into the depths of hell, he demanded answers from his captor. The dragon spoke. It sought a healer for its beloved companion. Preparing for a beast, our hero froze as the mighty claw revealed a tiny, sleeping fruit bat named Catlas. His eyes locked onto the frail creature. The signs of severe dehydration were clear. Instantly, the aura of a professional took over. He grilled the dragon on the patient's history and symptoms. The dragon puffed out its chest, boasting that Catlas had been his for 1 week. It was a mere trend among dragons. Recalling his hatred for impulsive owners, our protagonist asked the critical question, has he been eating? The dragon declared proudly that he fed it fresh animal blood. He assumed the creature had a noble palate. Ojin's spirit crumbled. He realized he was dealing with the worst kind of owner, the ignorant tyrant. Rage boiled over. He roared at the dragon, "Fruit bats do not drink blood. Only vampires do that." Catlas had been starving for 7 days. The mighty dragon shrank back in shame, admitting his inexperience. Ojin unleashed a lecture. He condemned the lack of research and pointed out the deadly freezing cold of the cave. The dragon argued that he was a creature of ice, but our boy stood his ground. A bat cannot survive in a freezer. Crushed by guilt, the dragon bowed its head. He apologized to Catlas and vowed to find fruit immediately before returning the little one home. Grateful for the life-saving advice, the dragon offered a reward beyond imagination. Ojin scoffed, jokingly asking to be reborn as an oil tycoon or a villainous noble. Confused, the dragon handed over a glowing necklace, a legendary artifact capable of granting any pure wish. As the pendant flared with mana, our protagonist accepted his fate. This must be the afterlife. Before the light swallowed him, he screamed his true desire, "Take me back to the early days of Bitcoin." The dragon watched him fade, then rushed to serve his bat, still puzzled by the strange goddess he had summoned. Moments later, our hero stood amidst a chaotic street, noisy crowds, foreign scents. Was this reincarnation or possession? A local merchant eyed his strange clothes. She welcomed him to the Belmore region, the land of markets. Suddenly, the ground shook. A colossal rabbit charged through the street, devouring everything in its path. Civilians screamed and fled, but Ojin stood like a statue, mesmerized by the creature roaming free. The merchant screamed that it was Lord Belmore's beast and begged him to run. Then, his eyes locked on a target, a child, frozen in fear before the monster. He moved without thinking. He snatched the girl from the jaws of death just as the beast lunged. The rabbit attacked again, but the pendant flashed, and a blue leash of mana bound the creature. The crowd gasped. A wizard. The merchant held her sister tight, realizing the stranger was no ordinary traveler. Lord Belmore arrived in a fury. Seeing his pet bound, he raged. Ojin explained the danger, but the noble turned a deaf ear. Patience shattered our hero, declared that blind love is the worst poison. He warned that one bite could crush a human skull. The sisters watched him with awe. Someone finally spoke the truth. Ojin analyzed the beast, the ears, the behavior. This was a domestic rabbit, suffering from severe stress and gluttony. He questioned the behavior. Belmore faltered, admitting the rabbit, Elizabeth, often tore out her own fur. She is dying of stress. Ojin warned against parading her through chaotic crowds. Belmore asked for guidance. Our boy commanded him to let her roam free at home and stop the spoiling. Belmore broke down in tears. He confessed the ridicule he faced. But he saw that Ojin truly understood the soul of the beast. The Lord signaled his butler. He handed Ojin a heavy pouch of coins, simply asking him to check on Elizabeth every now and then. After offering a stiff apology to the pet, the noble departs. leaving our main character muttering that he hopes their paths never cross again. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The market crowd erupts into cheers, praising Ojin's heroism, while the fruit seller gratefully offers a discount for saving her livelihood. However, when our hero admits his pockets are empty, the woman points meaningfully to the pouch he just received. He cracks it open, and the golden glimmer within blinds him. He bites down on a coin, and the metallic hardness confirms it pure gold. A faint, greedy smile plays on his lips. With this fortune, he can finally establish a new clinic and wipe away the crushing debts that followed him from the human world. Cutting to the chase, Ojin thanks the gathered crowd of applicants and muses aloud, hoping at least one of them has what it takes to survive his standards. With a serious glint in his eye, he announces the start of the interviews, declaring it nothing short of a game of life and death. For a moment, his thoughts drift to Lord Belmore, the benefactor who provided land and funds when Ojin first decided to lay roots in this strange dimension. Thanks to that generous backing, the second branch of his clinic stands tall. Belmore even provided the building, though for some reason, it was stocked entirely with rabbit supplies. Still, our boy isn't one to complain about free real estate. The connection with Belmore is a powerful asset, but as business consumes his schedule, Ojin realizes how ignorant he is about this world and the dragon that kidnapped him. That ancient beast promised him a way home, only to dump him in this unknown realm without a map or a manual. Hungry for answers and help, our hero slaps a recruitment notice on a shopfront animal hospital staff wanted immediately. He desperately needs someone versatile, a warrior of the workplace who can handle both assistant tasks and technical duties. As the interviews commence, Ojin sits like a king on his throne, scrutinizing the line of hopeful souls with a critical gaze. The first candidate, Thomas, boasts endlessly about his noble bloodline and strict upbringing, but our protagonist's interest fades faster than a dying candle. The next contender, Philip, claims his family possesses generations of experience in the animal industry. It sounds perfect, until the man casually reveals their expertise lies in running a butcher shop, hardly the healing touch Ojin needs. That is an immediate rejection. It seems finding a sane and normal human in this fantasy world is a quest in itself. The third applicant steps forward, a man with a pale, twitching face and eyes that scream instability. Ojin tries to suppress his judgment, but his patience snaps when the man collapses to the floor, begging and groveling for the job. That settles it. From this moment on, our hero vows to judge every book strictly by its cover. But before he can kick the man out, a young woman emerges from the line and delivers a devastating punch, sending the groveler flying across the room. She introduces herself as Selena, a wandering expert in animal care with the combat skills to match her medical knowledge. Impressed by her aura of dominance and composure, Ojin hires her on the spot. She's exactly what this chaotic clinic needs. The following afternoon, our protagonist relaxes in his new domain, soaking in the warm sunlight that filters through the glass. But as noon passes, Selena is nowhere to be seen, and doubt creeps in. Did he make another impulsive mistake? Just as he considers posting another flyer, a knock echoes at the door, expecting his tardy assistant. He opens it, only to find a complete stranger. Moments later, the man is settled with a cup of tea, and Ojin wears his most polite, professional mask. Internally, however, fireworks are going off. This is his first paying customer, the first step on the long road to financial freedom. His mind flashes back to his previous clinic on Earth, a venture that collapsed under the weight of his explosive temper. He vividly recalls screaming at a client who neglected their dog's dental hygiene, a rage so intense it earned him the title of the Mad Vet. This time, things will be different. Ojin swears to smile, endure, and charm every last copper coin out of his client's pockets. Snapping back to reality, he gently inquires about the stranger's companion. The man grins and retrieves a small lizard named Pojak from his pocket, and our boy breathes a sigh of relief. Finally, a normal creature. It's a welcome change from the monstrous beasts that usually roam this magical land. But the peace shatters when the owner chuckles about ripping the lizard's tail off. Ojin suppresses the urge to strangle the man and focuses on the patient. Examining Pojak, he notes the dry, inflamed scales, classic symptoms of a shedding cycle gone wrong. As he explains the diagnosis, the owner casually mentions that Pojak has a bit of a temper. As if on cue, the tiny creature opens its mouth and unleashes a torrent of scorching flames directly at our protagonist. Before Ojin can be incinerated, the door bursts open. Selena tackles him out of the line of fire, leaving the wall behind them to turn black with soot. Dazed and wiping blood from his lip, Ojin groans, wondering if being saved had to be physically more painful than the fire itself. As the smoke clears, the horrifying truth dawns on him. His first patient isn't a lizard, but a salamander, a fire-breathing monster. Staring at the flames, he realizes with dread that this clinic is woefully unprepared for fire attribute patients. Meanwhile, the eccentric stranger gazes at Selena with starry eyes, calling her a goddess while completely ignoring her interrogation about the creature's origins. With a chest full of pride, he declares he found it on the village's back mountain, claiming it was destiny love at first sight. Selena's expression turns stern as she informs him that keeping a salamander is a violation of imperial law, as overhunting has pushed them to the brink of extinction. However, she offers a loophole. If they register it as temporary custody for medical treatment, the authorities might turn a blind eye provided he releases the beast afterward. But the man clutches Pojak to his chest like a lifeline, tears streaming down his face as he refuses to let go of his soulmate. Suddenly, he dashes for the exit, screaming that no force in this world can separate him from his beloved salamander. Ojin stands frozen, staring blankly at the open door, until he snaps at the hesitating Selena to give chase immediately. And just like that, the clinic's grand opening turns into a slapstick comedy, as the very first patient sparks a ridiculous pursuit through the city streets. It is a chaotic start to Ojin's new life. He commands Selena to take point, and the peaceful market erupts into pandemonium. The fruit stall auntie was just humming a tune, enjoying the quiet without the Lord Reverend's tyranny, but she quickly realizes that in this town, peace is a lie. She instantly ducks behind her wooden cart. As the storm sweeps past, she decides the best survival strategy is to stay completely invisible. The fugitive weaves through the crowd, clutching the creature with the desperate determination of a madman protecting a treasure. Our boy follows, lungs burning, refusing to accept defeat, while the stall owner peeks out, muttering that whatever disaster this is, it is strictly not her business. The fleeing lunatic babbles frantically, convinced that envious thieves are trying to snatch Pojak from his loving arms. Our protagonist and Selena push their limits until their stamina hits rock bottom, and exhaustion finally drags them to a halt. Gasping for air, Selena takes a jab at Ojin's poor physical condition, but her playful tone vanishes as she remembers the salamander's critical state. Ojin confirms the diagnosis. The creature's molting layers have hardened dangerously, and Selena's face pales as the horrifying reality sets in. A salamander that cannot molt is a ticking time bomb. Its inner mana will erupt, unleashing an inferno that will incinerate everything in range. There is zero time to rest. They must intercept it before catastrophe strikes. Meanwhile, blissfully ignorant, the man reaches the safety of his home. With a sigh of relief, he places Pojak on the table, whispering that their reunion was written in the stars. His joy transforms into artistic delusion as he grabs an instrument, letting a bizarre melody drift into the stagnant air. Suddenly, the creative mood shatters. Pojak's body violently convulses and erupts into flames, turning the house into a blazing hellscape in seconds, choking on thick black smoke. The fool tries to reason with the beast, reaching out as if the power of love can extinguish a magical wildfire. Pojak responds with a ruthless blast of heat, and the flames roar higher, consuming the room with voracious hunger. Selena bursts in, dragging the delusional owner to safety, while our hero stands his ground against the heat, determined to suppress the rampant energy. He desperately thinks, if only I had a fire extinguisher, and suddenly, the constellation's pendant at his chest begins to glow. As the brilliance fades, the exact item he envisioned materializes in his grip, and he doesn't waste a second questioning the system miracle. He charges forward, unleashing a white chemical fog that suffocates the flames until the salamander's rage subsides, leaving only the hiss of cooling steam. As the smoke clears, Selena scans the wreckage. The man sits amidst the ruins of his home, muttering that the failed molt caused this disaster. He swears he will take better care of Pojak next time, his voice trembling with a terrifyingly misplaced affection. Our protagonist looks down at him with cold eyes, wondering if this fool understands the weight of true responsibility. Love without understanding, Ojin thinks, is just selfishness masquerading as devotion. Later, deep in the forest, Pojak has finally completed its molt. Selena notes the creature's vibrant energy, while our boy stares, jaw-dropped, at its massive new size. The man gazes at the majestic beast with bittersweet pride, whispering that it is time for the child to return to nature's embrace. He watches Pojak vanish into the tree line, shouting promises of eternal remembrance that the lizard definitely does not comprehend. Ojin rolls his eyes at the melodrama, knowing this guy spells trouble, but the bard is lost in his own world. In his own delusional narrative, this is a heroic farewell. Suddenly, the moment becomes genuinely magical as Pojak pauses on a ridge and spits a massive fireball into the sky, painting the twilight with brilliant fireworks. The man stares at the heavens, overwhelmed by the beauty, while our protagonist quietly logs the notification the treatment is finally complete. Days later, the troublemaker resurfaces in the town square, having rebranded himself as the Wandering Bard. Roya. He strums his guitar by the fountain, surrounded by dancing children, belting out an eccentric ballad recounting the legendary deeds of Dr. Ojin. The catchy tune spreads through the streets like wildfire, lifting the spirits of every weary soul who hears it. Selena watches from the shadows, hiding a smile, while our hero stands beside her, feigning annoyance though a spark of curiosity lights his eyes. Suddenly, villagers begin flocking to them with their sick pets, and Ojin finds himself grudgingly praising Roya's marketing skills. Until the consequences arrive. Outside Ojin's pet clinic, the street wasn't just busy, it was a battlefield under siege by a massive crowd. Dozens of voices chanted his name, a chorus of desperation demanding his miraculous touch. Our boy sat frozen, realizing his peaceful days had officially evaporated. Selena glared at the human tide, muttering that handing in her resignation looked mighty tempting right about now. Amidst the roaring chaos, Ojin accepted his grim reality. Their humble clinic had accidentally become the hottest spot in town. Just another Tuesday. The morning bird sang a cheerful tune, blissfully ignorant of the endless queue of suffering souls at the door. He wrapped up another treatment with practiced ease, advising a checkup later, his voice mechanical but kind. Selena loomed beside him, grimly noting that at this pace, he would be a wealthy corpse by next week. "Make that gold while you breathe," she quipped. Our hero summoned the next patient, reflecting that it had been 2 months since the grand opening. The clinic was thriving, perhaps too well. The initial days had been a trial by fire, but after seeing the coffers overflow, the exhaustion became a bearable price to pay. Suddenly, a head popped in, hopeful eyes scanning the room. "Are you still open?" "Closed," Selena snapped instantly, but Ojin waved the soul inside. As he worked, his mind drifted to the strange nature of this new world. Outside, the chatter was a constant hum of medical anxiety. One owner lamented that Coco had lost his appetite. Another pointed out a cat's bloodshot gaze. Humans here kept beasts close, yet the diseases plaguing them were a twisted reflection of his old world. Finally, Ojin stretched, his joints popping like gunfire. The day had been an absolute marathon. Selena announced the final battle. "What is it?" he asked. "A shaman," she replied. "Once a hunter's beast, now a trendy pet with a violent streak and a sky-high abandonment rate." A dark shadow crossed our hero's face. "Trend chasers who discard lives," he growled, his eyes cold. "They deserve to vanish from existence." He recalled the lore shamans grew massive, with fangs capable of shredding wild boar hide. Selena's warning was sharp danger walked through that door. But the monster was just a trembling puppy, barely 2 months old and dragging its leg in sheer exhaustion. Ojin activated his diagnostic gaze. Joints this young should be pristine, not failing. He spotted the culprit immediately, a vicious thorn lodged in the paw. With surgical precision, he extracted it and sanitized the wound. "You will heal," he promised. The tiny shaman wobbled gratefully. Our protagonist watched in silence, while Selena threw him a curious, knowing glance. As the door clicked shut, Ojin exhaled, the weight of the world lifting. "He looked happy," Selena observed. He blinked in confusion when she asked if his smile was for the cute pup or the end of his shift. She teased that usually. Only the clinking of gold coins brought that expression to his face. "No serious injuries today," Ojin murmured. "That is the victory. The healer's curse, the more you care, the more it bleeds you dry." Detachment was his only armor. His thoughts wandered to a phantom from his past life, an owner who abandoned their pet for a month-long vacation. Rage flickered in his memory. That was the moment he started scolding guardians without mercy. As the shadows lengthened, Selena warned that night was falling fast. Ojin urged haste to beat the sunset, but fate had other plans. A desperate figure from the past materialized outside, screaming for salvation. "Can you perform an exorcism?" Ojin deadpanned, turning to his assistant. "Physical attacks are wasted on spirits," she retorted dryly. Suddenly, the man stormed in. He grabbed our protagonist and launched him out the window, leaving Selena frozen in shock. Deep in the forest, Ojin lay gasping for air. The kidnapper bowed repeatedly, shocked that our hero had the stamina of a wet paper towel. "Who are you?" Ojin wheezed, fury building in his chest. "Not a ghost, but Schwinn, an administrative servant for the territory." He had sought Ojin out, remembering his legendary skill with the Lord's Rabbit. "Capture a stray dog," Ojin scoffed. "I am a healer, not a bounty hunter." Selena, suddenly emerging from the shadows, nodded in agreement. "We are not a rescue squad." "You are the last hope," Schwinn cried. "A stray has claimed the mountain peak, halting a massive construction project due to start in 2 days. They had failed to catch the beast. Now, the clock was ticking down to disaster. "If we fail," Schwinn whispered, "the military arrives. The order is to kill on sight." A heavy silence fell. "Where is it?" Ojin finally asked, though he quickly added, "I am only observing. No promises." Schwinn beamed, pointing a trembling finger up the trail. "I have not agreed to anything," Ojin insisted, but Selena smirked, reading his soul. "Oh, he is absolutely going to save it." Arriving at the site, Schwinn gestured toward the stray's fortress, where destiny waited. Suddenly, a disturbance ripples through the air. From the abyss of the shadows, a shaman emerges. Ojin's eyes narrow in instant recognition. Selena, however, reveals the dark reality. These creatures are a trend, adopted for status and discarded like trash when the novelty fades. Once prized companions, most are left to rot, neglected and forgotten by the world. Ojin's gaze pierces through the creature's condition. He deduces it has been surviving in solitude for nearly 2 months, with starvation gnawing at its very bones. Without warning, an eerie sound echoes from the forest depths, shattering the silence. Instinct screams, "Monster!" But as our protagonist turns to face the threat, the shaman unleashes a blood-curdling shriek and launches a lethal strike. Selena moves like lightning. She yanks our boy from the jaws of death, her voice desperate as she warns him of the beast's range. But Ojin remains ice cold. He knows that turning your back on an enraged predator is a guaranteed death sentence. Selena argues for action, fearing they will be torn to shreds, yet our hero stands firm, explaining that fleeing will only trigger the creature's hunting instinct. They must break its concentration. But before the plan can leave his lips, the shaman abruptly freezes in place. A suffocating stillness descends. The killing intent vanishes, leaving our protagonist questioning this impossible shift in behavior. He recalls Schwine's warning about these hunting dogs. A beast in a frenzy does not simply calm down without a reason. And yet, defying all logic, the shaman turns its back and melts away into the forest's embrace. Selena is left breathless, whispering that the mind of a beast is an unsolvable riddle. Schwein steps in, revealing the creature's notorious reputation. The nearby villagers view it as a plague, flooding him with endless complaints to drive it away. Ojin listens in silence, but the gears of deduction begin to turn within his mind. He demands the details. Schwein paints a picture of a vicious monster terrorizing the mountain, a threat the locals demand be exterminated. Our hero processes this information, sensing a disconnect in the narrative. He asks the one question that matters. Has this so-called monster actually spilled blood? Schwein opens his mouth to confirm the danger, then pauses. He is forced to admit, not a single soul has ever been harmed. Turning to Selena, our protagonist invokes her own words about the undying loyalty of the shaman breed. He asks if she still holds that belief. She stands by her conviction, and in that moment, Ojin's eyes flash. The puzzle pieces have finally aligned. When dawn breaks, Ojin and Selena descend upon the village at the mountain's base. The hunt for a stray is over. Their mission has shifted to uncovering the tragic truth behind the beast. Our boy ignores the creature. He seeks the master. Only the past holds the key to reaching this broken soul. Though time is against them, he knows that cheap tricks and food traps are useless here. That emaciated frame isn't just suffering from hunger. It is sustained by a bond stronger than instinct, a loyalty that starvation cannot break. As they walk, Ojin's thoughts drift to the darkness of human nature. He recalls the cruelty of a master's command to wait, the false promise of a return that never comes, leaving a loyal heart to wait for eternity. He suspects a tragedy of devotion twisted by betrayal lies at the core of this nightmare. Our protagonist knows too well that humans are capable of discarding those who worship them most. A cold, simmering rage begins to pool in his gut. He makes a silent vow. When they find this heartless owner, he will force them to face their sin and witness the hell their loyal companion has endured. As they scour the village, a disturbing pattern begins to take shape. One local claims a man's livelihood was ruined by the shadow on the mountain. Parents shield their children as if a demon lurks in the woods, and even the youth whisper legends of terror. An elder rambles about lost fortunes from years past, his words disjointed but adding to the hostility. But one truth is undeniable. The collective hatred of the village is a heavy, suffocating blanket. Hours of interrogation lead nowhere. Exhausted, our boy and Selena regroup on a desolate street corner. Sick of the fear and lies, Ojin deduces a new possibility. Perhaps the owner is a ghost to this village, an outsider unknown to them. Selena nods grimly. The only thing these people share is a unified desire for the animal's death. Suddenly, a woman with flowing hair emerges from the crowd. She bears a solemn countenance and drops a name that changes everything. Jake, I'm the master of the beast. She beckons them to follow. The path leads them toward a truth they might not be ready for. Ojin notes the solitude, a house swallowed by the forest, cut off from the world. This Jake was a hermit, invisible to the villagers. They arrive at a humble wooden cabin, heavy with silence, but there is no owner to scold. The woman stops beside a fresh mound of earth and reveals the devastating reality. Jake didn't abandon his friend. He died in a landslide 2 months ago. She reveals the heartbreaking truth: Jake walked this earth alone, with no kin to bury him. It was she who performed his final rites. Her voice trembles with conviction. Jake never abandoned his companion. Fate simply severed his path home. She confesses her own failed attempt to rescue the loyal beast. Tears lace her words as she implores them to save the creature, a dog she has named Max. Her words pierce Ojin's heart like a dagger. A heavy silence falls as shame washes over him for his hasty judgment. Our hero offers a silent prayer for the departed soul. With resolve burning in his eyes, he vows to save Max, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, deep in the forest shadows, Schwinn confronts the unexpected arrival of the enforcement squad. You weren't due until tomorrow, he hisses. He realizes with dread that they wrapped up their previous slaughter ahead of schedule. Desperate, he tries to buy time, suggesting the execution be delayed. But the officer's eyes are cold and unyielding. Efficiency is key, one sneers. Why wait to put down a beast when we are already here? Their logic is cruel. The villagers despise the creature. No one will mourn if the job is finished a day early. Stepping into Jake's sanctuary, Ojin is greeted by the thick, earthen aroma of medicinal herbs, unmistakable proof of the deceased's trade. Selena takes charge, scanning for anything carrying the owner's lingering essence. She gestures to a set of worn clothes, but Ojin's gaze is drawn elsewhere, to a framed memory on the shelf capturing the pure bond between Jake and Max. A pang of sorrow hits him. How does one survive the loss of such devotion? Suddenly, Selena spots something vital on the wall. It is a sketch of a mandrake. He wasn't just a herbalist, she whispers. He was hunting a legend. Memory strikes Ojin like lightning, the screaming plant from the movies. Selena confirms it, a rare, mythical specimen that is nearly impossible to harvest. The pieces click together. The unearthly scream they heard yesterday was no beast. It was the cry of the mandrake. Dangerous, yes, but a treasure beyond measure. The holy grail that every gatherer dreams of claiming. In the present, Max maintains his lonely vigil by the cave, gazing at a sky that holds no answers. His mind drifts back to that fateful, storm-swept day. He remembers Jake's laughter amidst the downpour, the warmth of his master debating whether to brave the rain. The memory is vivid: the crackle of the fire, the weight of the woolen blanket, Jake's gentle scolding to stay warm. Max had pressed close, seeking comfort. Jake, weary but smiling, whispered that fortune was on their side. That was when destiny intervened. Jake spotted the distinctive leaves sprouting near the cave wall, a mandrake. Disbelief washed over him. A myth, standing right before his eyes, defying all logic. Adrenaline surged. He needed his tools. "Wait here, buddy," he promised, eyes shining with hope. "I'll be right back." Max gave a soft bark of acknowledgement. Jake smiled one last time and stepped out into the deluge. And then, the mountain roared. A landslide crashed down, snuffing out his life in an instant. Seasons changed, the fire died, but Max's wait never ended. A week later, passing hikers spotted the solitary figure. They saw only a stray, rooted to the spot. Assuming abandonment, they offered pity and food. But when they drew near, Max shrieked, backing away in terror, driving the strangers back. Spooked, the tourist fled, cursing the dangerous beast, unaware that his aggression was born of grief, not malice. Max returned to his post, eyes fixed on the path, waiting for a master who would never walk through the rain again. Back in the now, the executioners close in, indifferent to the creature's sorrow. "Night falls," one mutters. "Let us end this." They prepare their weapons, tranquilizers potent enough to fell a high-ranking shaman. The intent is lethal. Schwinn throws himself in their path. "Just 1 hour," he begs. "I have a specialist incoming." He pleads Max's innocence. This is no monster, but a soul with a tragic tale. The officer sneers, unmoved by sentiment. "We don't get paid to listen to dog stories. We get paid to eliminate threats." The gun rises. The finger tightens. Max pants, resigned to his fate. But mere seconds before the shot, Ojin and Selena burst onto the scene. "Hold your fire," Selena commands. In that chaotic moment, a heartbreaking illusion blooms before Max's eyes. He sees Jake standing there, a gentle smile on his face, whispering, "I've come for you. You waited so long." Joy explodes in Max's heart, tail wagging. He bounds forward, believing his eternal wait is finally over. Ojin steps into the embrace, his voice tender yet heavy with truth. "I am not him," he confesses softly. "But your watch is ended. Let's go home." Far away, a deeper darkness settles over the forest. A predator awakens. Glowing yellow eyes slice through the gloom, and a blood-curdling shriek shatters the peace of the woods. Morning light breaks the tension, but peace is fleeting at Ogin's clinic. The door flies open. A frantic client begs for a miracle. Ojin looks down to behold the emergency. A panda so rotund, it resembles a ping-pong ball more than a beast. He scoffs in total disbelief. The owner insists the panda is wasting away, starving on a mere 7 meals a day. Ojin sighs, his voice grim. He warns that without proper weight management, this beast faces a grave future. The owner stands paralyzed in shock, but our protagonist has no time for delusions. He coldly summons the next patient. Schwinn enters, wearing his signature polite smile. Seeing him triggers a memory for Ojin Max, the loyal hound who descended the mountain in mourning. For days, Max had guarded his master's grave, refusing to accept Jake's death. The village pitied the beast, but only Schwinn's kindness finally reached its broken heart. Ojin asks if tragedy has struck Max again. Schwinn shakes his head, instead pulling a strange object from his bag of mandrake. Selena's eyes narrow. Something is wrong. Unlike normal mandrakes that bury themselves deep within the earth, this one's roots are fully exposed. Schwinn explains the dark history. Before his death, Jake found this creature and kept it as a twisted memento. But the moment they tried to replant it, chaos erupted. It tore itself from the soil, screaming day and night until the entire village needed earplugs just to survive. Eardrums burst from the sheer volume. Selena notes that mandrakes are notoriously temperamental about their territory. Schwinn is at his limit. He confesses the plant is impossible to tame. It is only silent because it sleeps, but the moment it wakes, hell will break loose again. He begs Ojin to take this burden. Our protagonist refuses instantly. He heals beasts, not botany, and anything that screams like that is certainly not a patient. Schwinn argues back. It is neither plant nor animal. It is a curse, a demon. Ojin scoffs, telling him to take a demon to the church, not a clinic, but suddenly, the root begins to twitch. Panic explodes in Schwinn's eyes. He screams that it is waking up, drops the pot, and flees the clinic before our hero can even react. Ojin curses at the retreating figures. He has seen people abandon pets, but abandoning a houseplant, that is a new low. Selena acts fast, trapping the creature under a glass shield. She reminds him that mandrakes are legendary medicine. From leaf to root, They possess the power to revive the dying. But our boy only grumbles about the headache. The eyes snap open. Selena screams for him to cover his ears before the sonic blast ruptures their eardrums. Panic seizes Ojin. He curses his lack of noise-canceling headphones and braces for the impact. But the scream never comes. Instead, the mandrake smiles. Confusion fills the room as Selena studies the anomaly. She realizes the truth. It likes him. She points to his necklace. The moment he reveals it, the mandrake's eyes sparkle, and it begins to dance with pure joy. Our protagonist is dumbfounded. Selena laughs, comparing the dancing root to a happy sunflower toy. He shudders, muttering about how creepy that comparison actually is. But Selena overrules him. He must raise it in his room. Despite his protests, he is stuck with the leafy roommate. Later that night, a thunderous knock shatters his sleep. Groggy and annoyed, he shouts that night calls cost double until a woman bursts in, carrying a dog soaked in blood. His eyes sharpen. The gashes are deep. Too deep. He mutters that standard treatment cannot stop this bleeding in time. Selena shouts the solution the mandrake leaves. Their hemostatic power is legendary. At his command, she rushes to the plant. The mandrake glares at her with suspicion. She freezes, realizing only Ojin can ask for this favor. He grumbles at the sheer absurdity of begging a vegetable, but lives are at stake. The moment he asks, the mandrake beams, dancing and humming a happy tune. Still baffled, our boy plucks the offered leaf. The magic works instantly, sealing the wounds and saving the dog's life. The woman weeps with relief. Our protagonist simply yawns, orders a follow-up visit, and drags himself back to bed. But peace is short-lived. 30 minutes later, another desperate knock pounds on the door. A man stands there, trembling, cradling a mauled deer in his arms, begging for a miracle. The creature is decimated. Ojin's gaze turns cold. These aren't hunting wounds. They are marks of torture, inflicted by someone who enjoyed the pain. He mutters that only a psychopath could do this. The villagers look confused, asking if a psychopath is a new species of monster. A little girl whispers the terrifying truth. It is Baron Doyle's pet wolf. It hunts for sport. Disbelief turns to blazing fury in Ojin's eyes. He curses the noble's name. He demands answers, shouting about the barbaric lack of animal protection laws in this kingdom. The villagers tremble. They remind him that the Baron is a noble. He is untouchable. Our hero rails against the heavens. He screams of freedom, justice, and democracy, alien concepts to these people, until Selena snaps him back to the reality of the dying deer. 1 week later, the peace is shattered. Chaos erupts outside the clinic doors. A massive crowd has gathered. A sea of desperate faces, all screaming for the doctor to save their beloved companions. Pushed past his physical and mental limits, Ojin dives headfirst into the chaos. He declares that he can no longer endure this oppression, his voice sparking the flames of a class revolution. Our boy leads the furious mob straight to Doyle's mansion. They chant accusations against the corrupt Baron, demanding blood for the abused creatures, until the heavy thud of iron boots announces the arrival of the guards. When the soldiers demand our protagonist reveal himself, he mutters under his breath about their terrifying efficiency, stealing his nerves. He steps into the light and declares his name. But then, the unthinkable happens. Instead of arresting him, the guards bow with utmost respect and escort him toward the castle like a VIP. Inside the grand hall, the grim reality awaits. A massive blood-fanged wolf lies on the cold stone floor, its life force fading rapidly from grievous wounds. Baron Doyle is no longer the arrogant noble, but a desperate man on his knees. He begs Ojin to save his beloved pet, swearing on his life to grant any wish in exchange for its survival. Our hero and Selena stand paralyzed, their minds struggling to process the irony. Here lies the very monster that has unleashed a nightmare of suffering upon the village. 1 week later, dark rumors infect the town as people gather in hushed huddles. They speak of a magical beast lurking in the western forest, a shadow that haunts their dreams. Whispers spread that the banished wolf is dead, replaced by something far worse, a gigantic, man-eating monstrosity that has graduated from slaughtering animals to hunting humans. Panic sweeps through the crowd like a plague, believing the village is doomed. Many speak of abandoning their homes and fleeing to the lower settlement for safety. However, others cling to false hope. They insist that Baron Doyle, their dependable leader, has already launched a grand subjugation operation to crush the threat. They speak of a colossal trap set deep within the woods, and soldiers patrolling from dusk until dawn. The villagers sing the Baron's praises, convinced they are safe beneath his benevolent shield. Blind faith blinds them to the truth. Our hero listens to their naive hope, fully aware that the reality is far more twisted. He recalls the image of the Baron, weeping like a child and screaming for his men to capture the monster that hurt his precious pet, while his servants scrambled to cover up the mess. To Ojin, this scene reeks of the media manipulation and propaganda from his past life. Beside him, Selena notices the shadow of suspicion darkening his gaze. Our protagonist analyzes the data. Most injured animals brought to his clinic were attacked near the eastern forest, close to civilization. Yet, the incident with the Baron's wolf occurred deep in the west. Despite this glaring contradiction, the Baron's forces are obsessively combing the western woods, completely ignoring the danger in the east. Even Selena senses that something in this puzzle doesn't fit. The western forest is a forbidden zone, a place the villagers avoid due to ancient ghost stories and cursed rumors. Their strategic meeting is interrupted. A craftsman from the glass workshop beckons them inside, announcing that Ojin's special order is finally complete. Behold, mouth-blown, reinforced glass syringes mixed with albarium powder, a masterpiece resistant to both intense heat and physical shock. Our protagonist inspects the tools, his eyes widening in genuine admiration. He calls the technology a miracle, marveling that such precision was achieved by hand. The craftsman wipes sweat from his brow, confessing the process was a nightmare and insisting he can never replicate it again. Ojin silences his doubts with a heavy bag of gold, forcing a partnership through sheer financial power. Slowly but surely, the humble clinic is stocking up with advanced equipment. The renovation begins. Selena inspects the new layout, shocked by the organized, modern structure rising from the dust. Our boy smiles to himself. This is no longer just a room. It is finally starting to feel like a true hospital. Then, fate delivers another gift. A man arrives carrying bundles of mysterious herbs. He presents a botanical treasure trove. Some herbs induce deep sleep instantly, while others soothe agony or suppress violent coughing fits. And one particular herb possesses powerful antiseptic properties. Ojin examines them in disbelief, realizing their potency defies all logic. Rumors even claim they can cure fatal diseases. He mutters in awe that nothing like this exists, even in the advanced medical science of his original world. While Selena teases his skepticism, a girl suddenly bursts through the doors. She screams for Ojin to hurry. The monster has finally been captured. Deep in the forest, the tension is suffocating. Soldiers, hounds, and Baron Doyle encircle the shattered remnants of the trap. A terrifying roar echoes through the trees. The soldiers tighten their formation, convinced the beast is cornered and ready to kill. But as our hero approaches, the dust settles to reveal the monster's true form. It is nothing but a small, angry cat, crying out in fear. A heavy silence falls over the clearing. The soldiers hesitate, seeing only a stray animal, but the Baron is consumed by madness. He insists this is the demon that terrified his wolf, pointing to its claws and teeth as irrefutable proof of its evil. Ojin watches in horror as the soldiers obey the insane order, casting a heavy net over the tiny creature. The kitten thrashes and wails, a sound that only fuels the Baron's twisted laughter. He orders it to be burned alive. Our protagonist objects, but the tyrant demands a public execution by dragging the creature to its death. Watching the helpless animal, a memory from our hero's past life surfaces. He remembers a man who once brought a battered cat to his clinic, explaining he used to feed it in the shopping district before some heartless monster hurt it. Ojin had called such abusers demons in human skin, despising them more than anything in existence. Back in the present, the cat's survival instinct explodes. It shreds the net, sending the soldiers into a panic. As chaos erupts, a brilliant plan flashes in our boy's mind. He shouts for everyone to cover their mouths and noses immediately. With dramatic flair, he points a trembling finger at the cat's forehead. A scar shaped like the letter M glows faintly above its brow. He proclaims it is the mark of a great demon, the harbinger of the global plague, the mark of Gona. Ojin's voice thunders through the forest. He declares the cat to be a calamity incarnate, the very embodiment of the great pandemic. The plague began with the rats, claiming the shadows, before passing its dark curse to a solitary cat that devoured them, absorbing their corruption to become a vessel of death. According to our protagonist, this innocent-looking feline is the harbinger of the coming apocalypse. If the infection spreads, he warns that half the kingdom will be wiped from existence. The mob, already thirsting for blood, listens in disbelief. The soldiers scoff at his grim prophecy. Even Baron Doyle releases a heavy pressure, demanding the truth and doubting our hero's bold claims. Despite the crushing skepticism, Kim Ojin stands like a mountain. He recalls a past life consumed by a similar pestilence. It's a world of masks, fear, and invisible war. He insists the beast holds demonic energy within its core, but it is young enough to be suppressed. In his previous life, a cure was found, and salvation is possible here too. He casts a desperate glance at Selena, silently praying she plays her part. She does not flinch. Calmly, she explains that with the beast's blood and specific herbs, a miracle cure could be synthesized. Though his face remains stone cold, our hero's heart pounds like a war drum. The soldiers continue to mock him as a fool, but before the killing intent can boil over, the Baron raises his hand. He grants Ojin 7 days. Within 1 week, he must purify the creature and present it at the castle, only to see it publicly executed. Back at the safety of the clinic, our protagonist collapses in relief. He thanks Selena for her brilliant improvisation, amazed by her nerves of steel. She replies with cold logic that she never lied. Technically, a cure is possible using the creature and mandrake roots, though it would cost hundreds of them. She pierces him with a question: why save a monster? She warns that once it awakens, its catastrophic power may be impossible to tame. Ojin reveals the twist. This cat is not the culprit behind the village massacres. He slams down the records. The wounds on the victims differ in size and shape, far too large for a mere cat to inflict. The pattern reveals a predator of much greater savagery. Selena's eyes widen as the truth hits her. Magma, Baron Doyle's wolf, is the true butcher. The cat was merely fighting to survive. Our protagonist nods, but it is suspicious that the Baron, who concealed his wolf's crimes, suddenly hunts a new beast with such public fury. He suspects this hunt is a charade, a smokescreen to capture the cat for a darker purpose. Selena connects the dots. That explains why the Baron demanded the creature alive, and why he accepted Ojin's clumsy bluff so easily. The remark about his lying skills stings, but Ojin's focus shifts to the creature's scars. The mark on its forehead is unnatural, and the old wounds across its body tell a story of long-term torture. His eyes burn with determination. He vows to uncover the hell this small creature has endured. Selena watches him, her gaze softening. He is not the greedy, cold-hearted merchant she once thought him to be. There is a gentle warmth in his hands, until suddenly he buries his face in the cat's fur, squealing about how soft and warm it is. The tender moment shatters instantly. Selena decides Ojin is simply insane, while the nearby mandrake root trembles with burning jealousy. The next morning, unearthly screams echo from the clinic. The townsfolk gather, whispering in a mix of awe and terror. Rumors spread like wildfire. They claim our hero is battling a high-level demon to purify the plague itself. In mere hours, the public elevates him to a legend, a grand wizard descended from another dimension. The crowd chants his name, the great wizard Kim Ojin. Meanwhile, oblivious to his fame, our hero struggles just to feed the scratching cat. The creature's temper is annoying, but Ojin notices something strange. It seems to be shrinking. Selena confirms it. Over the last 3 days, its mass has decreased. She speculates its demonic energy is dissipating. Ojin shakes his head. It is not purification. It is simply starvation. Hunger fuels its rage, burning its life force in a vicious cycle. As our hero wishes for the legendary snack, Kororo, his chest suddenly tightens. The dragon's necklace erupts with light. Mana condenses into the form of a chocolate treat. The snack shoots directly into the cat's mouth. The beast begins to chew with pure bliss. Ojin beams like a proud father, feeding it with growing affection, while Selena questions reality in silence. But as the cat eats, the scar on its forehead begins to pulse with light. Selena freezes. The truth finally clicks into place. This is no ordinary cat. It is the Monoceros, the horned lion that reigned as a god when dragons vanished and mana flooded the world. Revered as sacred beings, Their horns could bless barren wastelands with rain and turn despair into light. Their very hearts were engines of infinite mana, and the horn was the divine channel for that overwhelming power. Yet, those foolish enough to touch them faced inevitable death. After the great mana famine, their bloodline withered. They were forced to disguise themselves as lesser beasts, just to survive the cruel passage of time. Despite their frailty, their arrogant bloodline refused to bow. Only one existence could command them the spirit of healing. Back at the clinic, a small miracle occurs. The tiny beast finally relieves itself, and Ojin heaps praise upon Choro while feeding it. Watching from the shadows, Selena questions the sanity of feeding a divine beast such a demonic treat. Darkness falls over Baron Doyle's estate. A spy whispers unbelievable news the beast eats from the boy's hand like a gentle infant. The Baron's eyes narrow in disbelief as his knights kneel, trembling in the heavy atmosphere. Fear laces their voices. They speak of the devil's lion and a looming plague, warning that this is no ordinary monster. History is clear, no mere human has ever tamed a Monocaros, regardless of its weakened state. If the mana within them corrupts, they do not just die, they transform into living, ticking mana bombs. A single detonation holds enough power to wipe an entire nation off the map. A chill runs down the Baron's spine. He recalls Ojin's ominous warning about a world-ending plague and the beast's legendary refusal of human food. Suspicion takes root. Does this mysterious boy possess knowledge that transcends their reality? The next morning brings a bustle of energy. Pio, the new face at the desk, calls for the next patient with practiced ease. The clinic finally operates like a well-oiled machine, radiating life and order, but chaos lingers. Selena's patience snaps as she scolds a rowdy beast that refuses to settle down. Her temper flares, mana explodes as she magically silences the room, leaving Ojin horrified as she casually casts a spell on another customer. Just as quickly, she demands half a day off and vanishes into thin air like a phantom. Our hero is left holding a scribbled note, the only evidence of her unauthorized departure. The messy handwriting only fans the flames of his anger. He rages that no self-respecting vet would abandon their post so recklessly. Desperation forces his hand. He summons Pio, a local acquaintance, to plug the gap before the clinic collapses. But shock turns to awe. Pio dominates the floor, handling logistics and heavy lifting with a terrifying level of cheerful efficiency. Her skills are undeniable. Our hero instantly begins plotting to secure her as a permanent asset. Yet, amidst the rush, Ojin senses a disturbance. The usual symphony of animal cries has died down to an eerie silence. The answer arrives with the morning sun. A familiar face returns Ping Ping the hamster. Ojin's jaw drops. The creature that was once a few grams is now a behemoth, rivaling the size of a hound. Is this a panda or a monster? The owner corrects him with a smile. It is a flopper dog. Reality strikes our boy. In this dimension, hamsters are a completely different species with a ridiculous name. Confusion clouds the owner's face. How can a vet not know what a flopper is? Ojin stammers, but Pio executes a perfect save. She claims his foreign origins explain his strange terminology and superior medical skills. The bluff works like a charm. The owner nods wisely, convinced our hero is an elite scholar from a distant land. That settles it. Pio is hired on the spot. Ojin turns his attention back to the colossal Ping Ping. Vital signs are stable, yet its bizarre hue and mass defy all medical logic. He suspects a magical growth anomaly. Suddenly, the jealous cat launches itself at the giant hamster. Impact. The moment they touch, reality glitches. Ping Ping instantly splits into 3 identical clones. Ojin's mind races. This is not biology. It is a violation of every law of physics he has ever known. But the owner is ecstatic. He embraces the trio, weeping tears of joy that his loneliness has ended with a sudden family. Chaos erupts. A clone darts away, triggering a high-speed pursuit through the medical ward. It moves with supernatural speed. Just as panic sets in, Selena materializes from the ether. With the grace of an assassin, she snatches 2 in her hands and catches the 3rd in her teeth. She identifies them instantly. Bloops. Under pressure, the owner confesses the creature was a mysterious gift from his father. Selena takes command. She seizes the creatures for observation, promising their safety while hiding the danger they represent. Ojin rushes to assure them that no dark experiments occur here, preaching ethics while wondering why he is the moral compass of this madhouse. As night falls, Selena reveals the dark truth. Bloops are not born of nature. They are artificial chimeras, stitched together by a lunatic mage from a bygone era. Our hero is stunned. Even in this fantasy realm, mad scientists plague the world. Yet Selena defends the creator. She claims he was not a villain, but a misunderstood genius whose unstable creations were never designed to destroy. Ojin stares in disbelief, remarking that bloops were supposed to have gone extinct a century ago. It is a miracle to encounter one after all this time. Curiosity takes over, and he casually asks Selena her true age. But before she can answer, a guttural gurgle erupts from the Skunja nearby. The protagonist spins around in concern. Suddenly, a heavy knock on the door shatters the silence. A booming voice echoes from the other side. The soldiers announce the arrival of Baron Doyle. The Lord Baron strides into Ojin's clinic, demanding the monster immediately. Cold panic grips our protagonist, torn between hiding the beast or helping it escape. There was zero time to prepare. Every waking second had been consumed by keeping the creature alive. Forcing a nervous smile, our hero greets the noble. His mind drifts to Selena, who has vanished, leaving him to face this storm alone. The Baron crashes into a chair, ignoring all pleasantries. He refuses the tea and barks a demand to see the monster instantly. Ojin hesitates, mumbling that the treatment is incomplete. But the Baron cuts him off with a chilling glare. He sneers that if the clinic is open, the cure must be ready. Cornered, our boy spins a desperate, wild lie. He claims a mishap occurred during the exorcism. A mysterious soul imprint now binds him to the cat, making separation impossible. The Baron's lackeys exchange looks of disbelief, muttering that he must be insane to peddle such nonsense. Realizing his bluff is failing, the protagonist pivots. He loudly questions why the Baron keeps another black cat locked in his dungeon. The accusation hits home. For a split second, the noble's arrogant mask cracks. Ojin presses the attack. He accuses the Baron of plotting to swap the real divine beast for a common stray. Furious, the Baron denies everything. He shifts the blame, insisting the village attacks were caused by Ojin's recklessness, not Sunja. Our hero strikes back. He reveals the true culprit is the Baron's own wolf, slamming a medical chart down as proof. The claw marks on the victims are a perfect match for the wolf. A thug snatches the papers and shreds them with a laugh. Our protagonist grits his teeth, silently cursing this backward world and its lack of digital backups. Suddenly, one of the goons shoves Ojin aside and marches towards Sunja's cage. The cat hisses, slashing at the intruder. Our boy's mind races at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Summoning his steel carrier is too risky. Revealing weapons now would only accelerate their doom. He clutches the pendant around his neck, debating if he should unleash its forbidden power. But before he can decide, the door bursts open. A squad of elves marches in, led by Selena and a majestic figure with flowing white hair. The newcomer's voice rings with absolute authority, commanding everyone to stand down. The Baron freezes, recognizing the monocircle of the world tree etched on the elf's brow. It is Kalian, the head of the Supreme Inspection Agency and guardian of the Athetharan Order. The Baron stammers, trying to hide his fear with a sarcastic quip about a sacred order visiting a rundown clinic. Ojin bristles at the insult but wisely keeps his mouth shut. Kalian declares they are here for one reason: to rescue an endangered divine beast. Our hero stares, stunned by the elf's otherworldly beauty. It hits him like a ton of bricks. This is why Selena vanished. As she hands the cage to Kalian, the final puzzle piece clicks into place. Her ears are pointed. She is an elf too, Selena warns her commander, insisting the beast is dangerously ferocious. Kalian begins a chant. A sphere of brilliant blue mana envelops Sunja. As the creature floats weightlessly, he inspects the crown. The wound matches a world tree branch, the signature of a vile mana extractor. His calm demeanor evaporates instantly. Pure rage fills his eyes. He turns to the Baron, demanding to know if he dared to sever the Monoceros' horn. The noble trembles like a leaf. He stammers a denial, then turns and flees in blind panic. Our protagonist watches in awe. The authority of the elves truly eclipses even the human nobility. A thrill shoots through him. Kalian notes that only forbidden weapons could cause such harm and vows to find the truth. He thanks Ojin for his service, announcing they will now take the Monoceros into their custody. But before they can move, Sunja's energy explodes. The cat shatters the magic barrier. It bolts forward, burying itself in our hero's arms, terrified of being separated. The elves freeze in total shock. A divine beast seeking comfort from a human Sunja clings to Ojin, trembling uncontrollably. Kalian's eyes narrow. He locks onto the pendant around Ojin's neck, recognition flashing in his gaze. He whispers that the rumors are true. The implications are catastrophic. Our protagonist feels a chill run down his spine. It was that look. The exact same predatory gaze his university professor gave him right before dragging him into the hell of graduate school. Even Selena watches him now, her eyes like abyssal pools, completely unreadable. The silence stretches until Kalyan breaks it. He decides to entrust Sunja to Ojin, reasoning that while protocol demands an interrogation at headquarters, Selena's presence is the ultimate guarantee of safety. The woman in question merely shrugs, an aura of absolute boredom radiating from her. Our boy cannot help but question her lack of spirit. How does she remain so unnervingly calm in the eye of the storm? Kalyan begins a new incantation. Mana weaves into reality, forging a delicate necklace that settles around Sunja's neck. The artifact pulses with a faint light, a magical prosthetic designed to help the beast regain its strength in place of the severed horn. Sunja squirms, clearly despising the accessory. An elf steps forward to explain. The enchantment doubles as a lifeline. If the creature falls into danger, we will sense it instantly. Ojin stares, floored by their sophistication. It is practically an automated SOS system. Next, Kalyan produces a ring. He presents it to our hero as a token of the Celestian bloodline, imbued with powerful defensive wards. Ojin accepts the gift, but his hands tremble. He feels half honored, half terrified of the burdens this shiny metal represents. Kalyan smiles with gentle authority and insists on placing it on his finger personally. Though awkward, our protagonist submits to the ritual. The elves whisper their approval, noting how the band fits him as if it were forged by destiny. He glances down at the glimmering artifact, uncertain if he has just been blessed or shackled to a new fate. Kim Ojin has been single since the day he was born, and now, the first ring of his life sits heavy on his hand, an elven relic glowing with suspicious magic. His gut instinct screams that this is a trap. He tries to back out. He apologizes profusely, claiming he cannot possibly accept such a treasure. Cayenne is confused, but our hero explains, "I am a doctor. Jewelry only gets in the way of saving lives." Kalyan counters smoothly, suggesting he view it not as an accessory, but as armor. Though inwardly, the elf notes that Ojin is hopelessly out of touch with the ways of this world. Still, our protagonist holds the line. He repeats that anything on his hands is a liability for his medical work. Kalyan realizes he will not win this argument. Instead, he murmurs a short chant. The ring dissolves into pure light. It seeps into Ojin's skin, reshaping itself into a mystic crest on his finger. Okay, that looks unexpectedly cool. Kalyan instructs him to place the emblem over his heart and speak the family name. When Ojin obeys, his finger shines, and a holographic projection of Kalyan springs into the air. The elf explains this is high-tier communication magic, a spell for real-time voice and image transmission. He then invites Ojin to speak the command word light. Our boy repeats the word, and a brilliant beam bursts from his fingertip. The elves watch with amusement as he waves his hand around, genuinely hyped by the magical flashlight. Kalyan assures him there are more secrets to unlock over time, but the most critical function is the absolute protection enchantment bound to his soul. Ojin bows in gratitude, still shaken by how a piece of metal transformed into a high-tech tattoo. Selena watches from the side, a smirk playing on her lips. He fought so hard to refuse it, yet now he plays with it like a child with a new toy. Suddenly, Kalyan's gaze locks onto the other necklace, the one around our protagonist's neck. Shock ripples through the elves. That aura. Dragons are myths, believed to have vanished 1,000 years ago. Ojin shrugs, clarifying that he heard the same legends. I just treated a dragon's sick pet. The beast gave me this necklace as payment and promised to send me home. But clearly, the spell misfired, dumping Ojin in this dimension instead. It hits him again just how deeply magic is woven into the fabric of this society. Our hero asks the million-dollar question, does anyone here know how to send me back? Before the words fully leave his mouth, all three elves stare at him with wide, trembling eyes. They drop to their knees. They begin chanting to the spirit of healing, thanking the heavens for this divine encounter. Ojin freezes in pure bewilderment. Oh no, they think he is a god. Our boy waves his hands frantically. You are mistaken. I am just a normal human caught in a travel error. The pet was not even dying, just neglected. Kalen, however, is not listening to the denials. He points out that a mere human would never receive a necklace imbued with the soul of a dragon. Ojin mutters that he only took it for travel expenses after being kidnapped by a giant lizard. Kalan takes his hand with solemn reverence. Listen, our world faces an apocalypse. Mana, the sacred blood of the planet, is drying up. Once it flowed like water, but since the extinction of the dragons, the source has withered. Divine beasts are vanishing. The earth is turning to dust. If this depletion continues, the next generation will inherit a graveyard. To fight this fate, the realm's leaders formed the Athetheran Order, a crusade to restore the balance. Our protagonist listens, half dazed. So, essentially, it is a magical environmental protection agency. Kalen's voice drops to a whisper as he recites the ancient legend, the Spirit of Healing, a being wielding the authority of a dragon, destined to save this crumbling world. And as the final words leave his lips, every single pair of eyes locks onto Ojin. Disbelief washes over him. He points a trembling finger at his own chest, his face screaming, "You cannot be serious." But Killian simply nods with heavy solemnity. This is no joke. They have waited centuries for this very moment. Our hero desperately tries to explain they've got the wrong guy, but it's too late. The elves are already dropping to their knees, pledging their eternal servitude to the glorious Spirit of Healing, the powerful Celestian family, the sacred Athetheran Order. Both vow to protect him with their lives. Ojin feels the crushing weight of their fanatical devotion, his mind spinning like a top. He wants to scream at the heavens. That absolute lunatic of a dragon who dragged him to this world must have lost its mind. Internally, he curses the beast. Is this some kind of twisted cosmic prank? However, by the next morning, the chaos of divine misunderstandings fades, replaced by the familiar grind of his clinic. A new customer arrives, cradling a flying fish that has lost the power to soar. Ojin activates his diagnostic senses. Nutrition is optimal, no injuries. The diagnosis is simple yet cruel: old age. The owner's face falls, desperation creeping into her voice. She begs for a way to slow the process, to help the creature take flight just one more time. Gently, our protagonist delivers the hard truth. Aging is the one law of nature that cannot be broken. It must be accepted. The owner hesitates, her voice trembling as she reveals the true stakes. Her bedridden father. This fish is the only thing keeping him tethered to this world. He once raised a whole school of them, but as sickness took his strength, the fish died one by one. Now, only Lumi remains, the very fish he used to propose to her mother. Decades ago, he asked for her mother's hand by releasing Lumi into the night sky, her glowing fins sparkling like a living star. Back in those days, flying fish were creatures of light, soaring through the heavens during the grandest festivals. Listening to the story, Ojin can't help but think, proposing with a fish instead of a ring, that sounds incredibly tacky. Selena chimes in, explaining it was the height of romance in that era. The owner smiles faintly, a sad, nostalgic expression, admitting that times have certainly changed. She continues her tragic tale. After her mother passed, her father withered away. Now, he spends his days in isolation, pouring his remaining life force into caring for this one fish. And recently, the father made a chilling confession: if Lumi falls from the sky for good, he will have no reason left to live. Our boy feels the heavy sorrow behind her words. The old man is like a withered leaf, clinging desperately to a branch before the winter winds blow. But Selena remains ice cold. She casually suggests just buying a replacement fish, her lack of empathy striking Ojin like a slap in the face. The owner, now on the verge of tears, begs our hero. He must heal Lumi. He must save her father from the abyss of despair. But our protagonist is helpless. He repeats the diagnosis: Lumi isn't sick. She is fading. And not even the strongest magic can reverse the flow of time. The owner refuses to listen. Lumi must fly. If she doesn't, her father will die. Even as Ojin explains that natural aging isn't an illness, he realizes a terrifying truth. In this world, the bond between master and pet is a double-edged sword. Some owners starve themselves when their companions get sick. Others pray for death just to be with them in the afterlife. Such overwhelming love often invites tragedy. Suddenly, the image of Kalen flashes before him, demanding a promise. Before our protagonist can process the vision, the scene dissolves. He jolts awake. It was all a dream. Or was it a memory? Morning light breaks. Our hero greets Pio, who immediately spots the dark rings haunting his eyes. She admits she couldn't sleep a wink either. Pio assumes the weight of Lumi's case is eating at him. True to his nature, he denies it, trying to play it cool. But then, she drops a theory that changes everything. What if the fish isn't just old? What if it's suffering from a lack of mana? She recalls her childhood, how the glow of the flying fish dimmed as the world's ambient mana began to decline. As the energy in the air withered, the fish lost their wings. It clicks for Ojin instantly. It's exactly like environmental pollution on Earth. The ecosystem of this world is collapsing due to a mana drought. The prophecy of the elves crashes back into his mind. Destined to save the world. Perhaps it wasn't just figurative. Selena joins the fray, confirming their worst fears. It's not just the fish. Beasts all across the land are falling ill. Conditions labeled as aging or unknown diseases are actually symptoms of mana starvation. The ultimate proof, Monokuros, who was once a majestic lion. Our boy is stunned. He remembers that Sunja, his own companion, was originally a lion too. Looking at the adorable cat now, he tries to imagine her true, terrifying form. Even as a lion, she probably groomed herself with that same arrogance. A medical breakthrough sparks in our protagonist's mind. He asks Pio, what is the most common illness for the guardians of the flying fish? She answers quickly, osteoporosis, weakened bones causing constant fractures. Ojin turns to Selena, demanding the standard prescription. She rattles off the list: bloomroot to knit bones, bloodroot to dull the pain, and a cocktail of supportive herbs. Ojin narrows his eyes. And the side effects? Selena admits that long-term use of bloodroot causes severe fatigue and dulls the nerves. That's it. Our hero has cracked the code. It's not just the environment, the medicine itself is grounding the fish. He needs a counteragent immediately. Selena reveals such a medicine exists, but warns it will cancel out the pain relief. But our boy doesn't care, he demands the formula. Selena gestures behind her, and Ojin realizes the source of the cure isn't a herb in a jar. He turns to face the mandre, and the plant creature looks back at him with a deep frown. Ojin explains that he only requires a handful of leaves, but the plant suddenly unleashes a scream so piercing that it threatens to shatter their eardrums. The mandrake wails uncontrollably, leaving our hero completely flustered by this dramatic display. Pio suggests that the creature feels neglected because Ojin has been showering all his attention on Sunja lately. Our protagonist awkwardly admits that his social skills with plants are non-existent. Pio insists he must at least grant it a name. When he hesitates, the mandrake's cries reach a fever pitch. Defeated, he looks the plant in the eye and dubs it Kimmandal. The effect is instant. The mandrake ceases its weeping and begins a joyful, wiggly dance of acceptance. As Ojin harvests 2 leaves, he shudders at how unsettlingly affectionate the flora and fauna of this world are. Meanwhile, Selena watches with sharp eyes and asks to inspect his necklace. She examines the artifact but finds no magical trap. However, the moment she wears it and attempts to touch Sunja and Mandal, the creatures hiss with hostility. A realization strikes her. The ancient bond within the necklace has recognized a single master, Ojin. She demands to know how he activates it. Ojin explains that focusing his mind creates a tightness in his chest, unleashing a flow of energy. Selena's eyes widen. That power is not from the item. It is linked directly to his heart. Ojin adds that the creatures flock to him as if expecting a feast. While he feeds Sunja a favorite churro snack, Selena witnesses the faint glow of energy. The truth hits her like lightning. Our boy is unknowingly feeding his own mana to these beasts. Fear grips her heart. A connection this deep isn't just a gift, it is a dangerous drain on his very life force. Before she can speak, Pio announces that the crushed leaves are processed and the potion is complete. She asks if another batch is needed, and our hero nods in agreement. Selena remains silent, her mind racing with implications. Everything about Kim Ojin defies logic. The chaotic energy, the way nature bows to his will. It is far beyond the realm of ordinary mages. For the first time, a chilling thought takes root in her mind. Could he truly be the one from the legends, the spirit of healing? Over at Luriel's mansion, the atmosphere is heavy with grief. She enters her father's room and finds him collapsed on the floor, rushing to his side in a panic. She realizes he tried to stand just to let Lumi be near the window. Despite his trembling body, he forces a smile and insists he is fine. L'Oreal scolds him, fearing his fragile bones will snap. But her father simply sighs, accepting that his time in this world is running out. She argues desperately that he can still recover. But he shakes his head, believing that death comes not just from sickness, but from the death of hope itself. Tears stream down her face as she begs him to stop this ominous talk, but his resolve is set in stone. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Ojin, Selena, and Pio arrive, shattering the gloomy atmosphere. Our hero boldly declares that people do not die from fate. They die from misinformation, wrong prescriptions, and giving up before the battle is over. Both L'Oreal and her father freeze, stunned by this sudden intrusion. Our protagonist steps forward with authority. He reveals that Lumi's inability to fly is not due to old age, but a toxic side effect of the father's own medication. The father's baffled. He argues that he is the patient, not the fish. Our hero smiles and reveals the hidden truth of nature. Flying fish retain their instincts to groom their kin. They clean those they love. By grooming her father's hair and beard, Lumi has been absorbing the medicinal residue through her skin. A memory flashes in L'Oreal's mind. She recalls the countless nights Lumi spent nestled against her father, comforting him. The old man connects the dots. He mutters in disbelief, realizing this explains why his beard was always inexplicably shiny. Ojin confirms the diagnosis and reveals a syringe containing his custom cure. He promises that the fish's vitality will return within mere days. The father lets out a weak laugh, joking that he will shave his beard to save his beloved pet. Our protagonist begins the procedure. While Pio restrains the struggling fish, Ojin injects the serum with surgical precision, noting its rapid effects. Miracles happen instantly. Lumi begins to stir, and then, defying gravity, she lifts into the air, glowing with renewed life as she swims toward the father. He stares, captivated. It is no dream. One by one, the other fish ignite with a soft blue luminescence and rise from the water. The room transforms into a sanctuary of light as the school of fish dances through the air. L'Oreal and her father watch in tearful awe. The sight transports the old man back to the day he proposed, when glowing fish soared into the heavens just like this. Holding Lumi close, his heart swells with an emotion he thought he had lost forever. Pio watches from the sidelines, understanding the secret mechanics. This reaction was triggered by Ojin's blood and mana proof that he is no ordinary human. Selena reaches the same terrifying conclusion. The pieces align. He is the one spoken of in the prophecy. The spirit of healing has returned. Later, under the cover of secrecy, Selena meets with Kallian to discuss these findings. Kallian is convinced. Every sign points to the truth, and Ojin's resonance with the Monoceros is undeniable proof of his identity. Selena questions the wisdom of giving our protagonist the ring, an heirloom that isn't his. But Kallian insists the original owner would have wanted it this way. He reveals their grand strategy. Rumors of the spirit of healing will soon sweep the continent. They will use Ojin as a beacon to draw out the hidden darkness rather than chasing shadows. A cold realization washes over Selena. This explains everything about the mysterious Baron Doyle. The bait was released to lure out the shadowy figures pulling the strings. Kallian's voice remained steady, reassuring her that Ojin was safe. After all, their meeting in this village was no mere coincidence, but destiny at work. Selena's mind drifted back to that fateful first encounter, visualizing the moment our hero dominated a colossal rabbit, his mysterious necklace glowing with untold power. She had to admit, his presence was singular, yet she couldn't shake the nagging doubt that this man was truly the legendary spirit of healing. But Kallian urged patience, his eyes narrowing as he reminded her the prophecy speaks not just of salvation, but of the brutal trials that paved the way for it. Another morning dawned, bringing a deceptive tranquility to Ojin's clinic. However, inside, that wretched blob known as the bloop remained, hunched over a leaf like a bad omen. Even though the fee for its care had expired a week ago, our hero spotted the creature and felt a vein pop in irritation. Why was this nuisance still here? Meanwhile, Selena tended to the slime with reckless abandon, explaining she was guarding one of the 3 bloops, but her careless handling forced the protagonist to intervene immediately. His knowledge of the system kicked in. He recalled that bloops are categorized into core types, which hold stability in their heads, and non-core types, which are far more volatile. A core type prevents division, but the specimen in Selena's hands was a non-core variant, a creature that, when stressed, becomes a ticking time bomb of reproduction. Selena confirmed his fears with a nod. This was indeed a highly sensitive specimen, prone to multiplying under the slightest pressure. A cold sweat formed on our hero's brow, the gravity of the situation sinking in as he realized the catastrophe sitting in his clinic. If mishandled, these creatures could multiply infinitely. A plague that has wiped out entire villages, keeping it alongside unstable beasts like the Mandre and Sunja, was practically asking for death. He silently questioned her judgment, realizing with a sinking heart that Selena had bypassed protocol completely. She had never obtained the owner's permission, acting as a rogue agent under the thin veil of cooperation. Pio, witnessing the tense exchange, trembled in the corner, subtly hinting that perhaps ignorance was bliss in this dangerous game. The protagonist's gaze sharpened. He remembered the lore of elves who covered their ears to conceal the branded markings of a criminal past, and suspicion took root in his mind. Selena's impulsive nature, her deflection of personal questions, and her aggressive edge, every sign pointed to a history she was desperate to bury. Ojin briefly considered severing ties with her right then and there, but the crushing weight of the clinic's workload forced his hand. He needed her. Before he could spiral further into suspicion, Selena announced opening time, and the mask of daily routine was forced back into place. Elsewhere, deep within Baron Doyle's fortress, a communication crystal hummed to life. A mysterious figure on the other end demanded to know why the Holy Order had descended upon Ojin's clinic. The Baron stammered, explaining the chaos. They had burst in without warning, raving about a divine beast, disrupting his operations before vanishing. Fury radiated from the crystal. The mysterious man accused the Baron of incompetence, believing he had allowed the Order to snatch the prized Monoceros. Desperate to save face, the Baron apologized and swore recovery, dropping the bombshell that he didn't need to steal the beast because it was already in the hands of Kim Ojin. Shock silenced the mysterious man. It was common knowledge that a Monoceros, a creature of pure divinity, could never coexist with a human. Yet the Baron insisted the beast followed the protagonist willingly, prompting the man to issue a chilling command: silence anyone who knows the truth, for failures would not be tolerated. The transmission cut, leaving the Baron seething with frustration after the humiliating dressing down. He barked orders at his butler to summon his enforcers, Theodore and Alex, only to learn the two had been granted leave after whining about overtime. Rage exploded within the Baron. He canceled their freedom instantly, demanding their return to clean up this mess. He realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, in the town square, the rumor mill was spinning at breakneck speed regarding the Order's visit. Villagers whispered in hushed tones, claiming to have seen the holy group themselves, wondering what business such titans had in a humble countryside clinic. The word on the street was that they had come seeking a creature of myth, a rare divine species hidden in their midst. Some claimed our hero was no mere doctor, but an entity from another world, while others spun tales of him dominating mana beasts and taming gods with his bare hands. Truth and fantasy merged until the entire town was vibrating with the energy of wild speculation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the rumors mutated into something far more legendary. People began to hail Ojin as the spirit of healing reborn. A prophecy once thought to belong to a goddess was now being rewritten for a man who held the power to rule the world. A mysterious woman with flowing pink hair analyzed the gossip with her companion, noting that the ancient prophecy's meaning was shifting with the arrival of this new anomaly. Meanwhile, in the opulent noble district of Manhwa, Adrian arrived at his prestigious clinic expecting the usual line of patients, only to be met with a deafening silence. He remarked on the eerie emptiness, his blood running cold when the butler informed him that not a single soul had visited since dawn. Paranoia gripped him. He suspected Count Downey of sabotage and vowed revenge, until his assistant nervously whispered the truth. Everyone had flocked to the new clinic in Belmont, Ojin's clinic. Adrian scoffed at the absurdity, convinced that the nobility would never lower themselves to visit a commoner's filth. However, his arrogance shattered the moment he learned that Lady Marianne herself had cancelled her appointment to seek Ojin's care instead. Humiliation turned to blinding rage. Slamming his fist against the desk, Adrian screamed for his carriage, determined to crush the upstart who dared to steal his glory. Adrian, a man born into privilege and power, possessed a pride that was about to lead him into a war he wasn't ready for. He possessed genius intellect, God-given talent, and a face sculpted by the heavens, attributes that made his choice to become a humble veterinarian a baffling mystery to the elite. Yet, his motivation was surprisingly simple. He held a genuine affection for those who cherished their animal companions. With a smile that could disarm anyone, he would soothe anxious owners, finding a twisted sense of pleasure in playing the savior to their beloved beasts. Adrian was a man who strictly divided his world, building an iron wall between his private desires and his professional duties. That wall, however, crumbled before one woman, Lady Marianne Astrid. From the second she graced his clinic, his heart was sealed by destiny. In his arrogance, he convinced himself that his entire medical career existed solely to one day treat her legendary unicorn. But that golden illusion shattered. Rage consumed him when he learned Lady Marianne had bypassed him. For some filth-stained commoner to treat Lulu, blinded by jealousy, he slammed his clinic door shut and stormed off toward the Astro estate, demanding answers. Upon storming the mansion, Marianne's mother greeted him with cold aristocratic politeness, her eyes questioning his rude intrusion. Adrian feigned concern, arguing that Lulu was too delicate for a peasant's touch. He insisted that trusting a random commoner was a recipe for disaster, but the matriarch cut him off cold. Kim Ojin is no ordinary man, she lied smoothly. The new vet is actually a woman. The statement hit him like a physical blow. She twisted the knife further, claiming this commoner possessed skills that rivaled the gods in beauty that earned the title of a spirit fairy. The revelation rattled Adrian to his core. His mind raced, trying to picture a woman whose beauty could be likened to the Fae folk. Was she a golden-haired angel descended from the sky, or perhaps a dark, enchanting siren of the night? His fantasies were brutally cut short. Marianne's mother scoffed, admitting she had fabricated the entire story just to test his composure, and he had failed miserably. She ordered the guards to remove him. Though humiliated, Adrian's pride refused to die. He shouted that he wasn't some woman-crazed fool, but a man purely devoted to Lady Marianne's well-being. His pathetic declaration only amused the noblewoman as he was tossed out. Seated in his carriage, Adrian seethed with venom, vowing to confront this Kim Ojin himself. He prided himself on being the supreme authority on unicorns, armed with secret knowledge the common rabble lacked. He knew these majestic beasts judged humans by scent alone, detesting the stench of blood or sweat, and often reacting violently toward men. Unicorns crave purity and floral essences, and Adrian believed his obsession with hygiene made him the only man worthy of their presence. He remembered the hellish trials he endured to earn a unicorn's trust, bathing twice a day and drenching himself in the owner's perfume to mask his scent. He was absolute in his certainty. A foul-smelling peasant, ignorant of such refined arts, would be walking into a death trap. The beast would surely rampage, and that would be his moment to step in, taming Lulu and saving the day before Marianne's adoring eyes. The delusional fantasy made him flush with excitement, laughing maniacally while his coachman silently pitied his master's madness. Arriving at Belmore, Adrian found a massive crowd buzzing with electricity, all eyes fixed on the magnificent creature before the clinic. Smirking with malicious glee, Adrian prepared to watch the peasant's inevitable humiliation. The show was about to begin, but his arrogance crumbled into dust. There sat our hero, calmly perched upon Lulu's back as if he were born to rule the beast. The crowd gasped in awe, and even Lady Marianne confessed she had never seen Lulu submit to anyone else. Adrian stood paralyzed, his reality fracturing. Impossible, he thought. This must be a trick black magic. His eyes darted to the elf woman standing beside Ojin, suspecting her of foul play. But his theory collapsed instantly, without warning. Lulu snapped her jaws, sinking her teeth into the elf's arm. Silence descended like a shroud. Ojin moved with lightning speed, treating the wound and clearing the area before panic could spread among the onlookers. Refusing to accept defeat, Adrian decided to resort to espionage. Spotting an open window, he scaled a nearby tree, channeling the skills of his youth. Peering through the glass, he witnessed our protagonist tending to the elf's injury, his hands moving with the grace of a grandmaster as he applied unfamiliar herbs. But then, Adrian's eyes narrowed. A faint, glowing crest shimmered on the back of Ojin's hand. Thunderstruck, his eyes widened. He knew that symbol. the crest of House Celestian, the supreme rulers of the elven race. His jaw dropped in disbelief. This was no commoner. The veterinarian bore the bloodline of the highest elven nobility. Meanwhile, Ojin studied the mark on Selena's hand. His sharp eyes realized that what looked like a simple bite was actually laced with potent neurotoxins from the unicorn's saliva. "We dodged a bullet," he murmured, his voice grave. Selena nodded, shaken. The creature's hostility was abnormal. Unicorns were proud, not vicious. Something was wrong. Lady Marianne bowed her head, profusely apologizing for her pet's aggression and insisting on paying a fortune for the medical expenses. But our hero raised a hand, stopping her. He refused the gold, accepting the blame as a failure of his own clinic's safety protocols. When Marianne pointed to Selena, asking about her role, Ojin introduced her simply as his medical assistant, the backbone of his operation. Marianne nodded, but her gaze wandered the room. "For a man of your reputation," she mused, "this clinic seems rather modest." Her words triggered a flash of memory for our protagonist. A nightmare from his past life. He recalled a cramped, rotting building with frozen pipes, clogged toilets, and the ceaseless wailing of sick animals, a hell he had sworn to leave behind. Before Ojin can even finish his train of thought, Marianne cuts in. Her eyes shimmer with sympathy for his past hardships and pure awe for his incredible achievements. Her voice drops to a whisper, flushed with sudden shyness as she heaps praises upon him. Then, she drops a bombshell. She suggests her family could sponsor a massive expansion for his clinic. Is this just business, or is she proposing something far more intimate? But before the tension can settle, Lulu suddenly lashes out at Ojin, sending the room into absolute chaos. Chaos erupts. Both Marianne and our protagonist scramble to hold the beast back. Meanwhile, Selena calmly analyzes the situation, noting that unicorns usually tolerate smaller creatures unlike their monoceros cousins. Marianne bristles immediately. How dare anyone suggest her precious Lulu has a bad temper? The air turns electric as sparks fly between the two women. It is not just a conversation anymore, it is a duel of words. Insults are hurled like daggers. They scream about lack of manners, bribed reservations, and the arrogant entitlement of the nobility. Pio mutters that nobles truly live in a different world, instantly earning a death glare from Marianne that could freeze water. As the tension hits its peak, Lulu goes berserk. The beast thrashes wildly, smashing into a bookshelf. Suddenly, a thunderous crash echoes through the room. Glass explodes inward. A figure tumbles through the shattered window and face plants on the floor. Everyone freezes, but Selena reacts instantly, using her magic to halt the falling bookshelf in midair. The room falls into a stunned silence. They stare at the unmoving body, wondering if this intruder is even still breathing. Suddenly, the man lifts his head. Blood streams down his face, yet he wears a dazzling smile, calling out to Marianne with exaggerated relief. While Marianne stammers in shock, Pio demands an identity. The man rises and declares himself Adrian Heavencrown. He kisses Pio's hand, swearing eternal devotion to all beautiful life forms. Ojin stares at him, completely appalled. The sheer theatricality of the entrance makes him cringe internally. He finds the man's pretentious tone unbearable, like watching a desperate influencer trying too hard for views. When asked about the window, Adrian puffs up indignantly. He claims to be Lulu's primary physician and points an accusing finger at our protagonist, screaming about mistreatment. That accusation ignites the powder keg. The situation instantly dissolves into a heated shouting match. Ojin insists the beast is fine, but Adrian fires back. He calls Ojin an unqualified fraud and brands him a cyber-hooking bastard. Confused by the slang, Ojin turns to Selena. She explains with a smirk that it is a nasty insult for a deceitful player who lures people in like a carnivorous plant. The insult hits our hero a beat too late. His jaw drops as the sheer audacity of the claim sinks in. Marianne steps in to scold Adrian for his foul mouth, but he ignores her completely. He gets right in Ojin's face, interrogating him about his romantic history. Suddenly, Adrian freezes. He spots a mark on Ojin's hand. His eyes widen as he accuses Ojin of having secret ties to a noble bloodline or something far more scandalous. Pio blurts out that it must be an engagement ring. The room goes dead silent as everyone stares at our boy in absolute shock. Flustered, Ojin waves his hands frantically. He explains it was just a gift from someone named Keon, but his clumsy excuse only makes the mystery deeper. Before the interrogation can continue, Lulu starts trembling violently. Cold sweat breaks out across the beast's shimmering coat. With a heavy thud, The unicorn collapses. Everyone rushes to her side as Ojin instantly switches into his healer mode. Her pupils are reactive, but her breathing is labored. It is not critical yet. He barks orders at Pio to bring a candle and a stethoscope, his mind racing to connect the dots. Adrian watches closely, his expression darkening. Then, he drops the diagnosis like a hammer. Lulu isn't sick. She is pregnant. Adrian performs a swift examination, his hands glowing with mana, and confirms it without a shadow of a doubt. She is expecting. Marianne shakes her head in denial. She cannot accept it. She swears the unicorn has been isolated in the castle's greenhouse, making pregnancy absolutely impossible. But Selena backs Adrian up. She points out Lulu's recent aggression and heightened vigilance, textbook signs of a mother protecting her unborn. To prove it, Adrian pulls out a special medical artifact designed to detect internal sounds. Marianne follows his instructions, pressing the device against the beast. Thump thump. She hears Lulu's heart. And then, a faster, smaller rhythm echoing from the womb. The reality is too much. Her knees give out, and she collapses, but Adrian swoops in to catch her just in time. Meanwhile, our protagonist calmly eyes the device. He explains to the group that in his world, this tool is known as a stethoscope. Adrian is floored by the explanation. He is amazed by the device's precision, marveling at how it captures even the faintest whispers of life. Putting their rivalry aside, Adrian and Ojin combine their expertise. They determine that Lulu is roughly 4 months along. Marianne wakes up and rejects the truth again. She insists Lulu has not taken a single step outside the greenhouse in all that time. This only makes the mystery darker. The unicorn was under strict lockdown for an arranged mating with Prince Theo's prize horse, Shrank. Yet, despite the ironclad security, the evidence within her womb is undeniable. They rush Lulu to the ICU. Ojin immediately sets up an IV line, pumping fluids and electrolytes directly into her veins to combat the severe dehydration from morning sickness. The others watch in total fascination, stunned by a treatment that delivers energy without the creature ever needing to swallow. A heavy silence settles over the room as Marianne struggles to process this impossible reality. Selena finally breaks the quiet with a thought. She reasons the arranged marriage was doomed from the start. Unicorns are proud creatures. They remain single for eternity unless they find a partner truly worthy of their soul. Legends speak of a miraculous union that occurs only once in an era, producing a golden hybrid of mythical power. Adrian proposed a bold strategy: send Lulu to the Imperial Palace as a tribute to explain the predicament directly to His Highness. But Selena scoffed at the plan, dismissing the idea as a dangerous gamble. She warned that golden unicorns are mere myths, and worse, they still had no idea who the father of the foal was. Adrian countered, listing the elite stallions raised under Lady Marianne's prestigious care as prime suspects. There was Seif, the Wind Chaser, Terra, the Endurance Master, Dolly, the Charmer, and Black Thunder, the Titan of Strength. Marianne frowned, realizing the gravity of the situation. They had to identify the true partner before making a move. Though Adrian volunteered to investigate, Marianne turned her desperate gaze to Dr. Ojin, praying his medical eyes could see the truth. But the doctor shook his head coldly, reminding her that a stethoscope reveals heartbeats, not family trees. Adrian stepped in, insisting that Ojin's instincts and his deep bond with Lulu made him the only man for the job. Selena then realized something crucial: the answer was likely close by. For pregnant unicorns fall into despair when torn from their mates. Yet, strangely, Lulu had remained perfectly calm throughout the entire journey. Marianne's eyes widened as the pieces clicked. The anxiety only began here. The secret lay somewhere along the carriage route. Meanwhile, at the humble stables, Joseph tended to a lowly mixed-breed horse, oblivious to the storm about to descend upon him. The moment Lulu spotted the beast, she broke free. Rushing forward, she nuzzled the common horse with pure, undeniable longing. Marianne froze in sheer horror, unable to comprehend how a divine royal unicorn could bond with a filthy mongrel. From the shadows, our hero chuckled. It was like a tragic opera where a noble family rejects a peasant lover. Adrian watched closely, confirming the impossible against all logic. Their souls were undeniably connected. Marianne protested that the cult was too young, but Dr. Ojin cut through her denial with a sharp truth. Lulu had made her choice, and separating them now would kill both her and the unborn foal. Marianne stood paralyzed, her world shattering. The symbol of purity and grace had chosen a life of common affection over royal duty. When the Count discovered this scandal, his wrath fell upon Joseph like a warhammer. He roared that allowing a lowly carriage beast near the divine creature was nothing short of insanity. Joseph pleaded his innocence, but the Count branded him a liar seeking to profit from the prestigious bloodline. Deaf to reason, the Count's eyes burned with cruelty as he commanded the guards to seize them immediately. Throw the boy and his beast into the dungeon. Judgment will be swift and merciless. The maids whispered in the shadows, trembling. Punishing a man for nature's love was simply tyrannical. Then, the dark truth surfaced. Lulu was never just a gift. She was a political bribe. A golden ticket intended to secure the crown princess election scheduled for the year's end. Marianne was destined for the throne, but her dreams now lay in the mud with the carriage horse. One maid snickered softly, wondering if the beast took after its mistress's hidden nature. Another hinted at Marianne's secret past, before a sharp hiss silenced the dangerous gossip. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A servant burst in, screaming. Lulu was coughing up blood. Marianne's face went pale, and she rushed to the stables, demanding answers. The maid cried out that Lulu refused to eat. The morning sickness had turned violent, just as Selena had warned. The separation was tearing her apart. The stress was literally killing the divine beast. The maid trembled, warning that if they did not act this instant, both mother and child would perish. Marianne screamed for Dr. Ojin, but the reply was grim. He was miles away, trapped by the distance. Gritting her teeth, she took command, find a local healer, and bring that horse to her now. As the guards dragged the stallion in, the maids gagged at the stench of the dungeon, complaining he should have been washed. The guard shouted back, "There was no time for a bath. It is life or death." Marianne silenced them with a glare. The moment Lulu saw her mate, she collapsed into him with relief. "Bring me warm water," Marianne declared. "I will wash him myself." The servants gasped in disbelief as she ordered soup for the unicorn. She scrubbed the filth from his coat, cursing the beast in her mind for causing such ruin. Yet, looking at them, she could not help but remember the common merchant's son she was once forced to abandon. Marianne gazes at the creature, wondering if a golden cage is truly better than a free spirit's simple joy. Suddenly, a presence shifts the atmosphere. The protagonist has arrived. With the grace of a saint, Ojin tends to Lulu. He imparts a heavy truth in the eyes of nature. Kings and horses are equal dust. The needle pierces skin, delivering vitality. He turns to Marianne, his voice absolute. Love is the only cure she needs. Medical mana flows, but Ojin's expression darkens. This is merely a bandage on a gaping wound. To heal the soul. The lovers must be reunited. Marianne nods, the weight of the truth settling in her heart. His duty here is done. Ojin turns to leave. The clinic calls, and he worries his assistant lacks the delicate touch required for life. Marianne bows her head. "Go," she whispers. "I will guard this life with my own." But the silence is broken above them. Adrian clings to a branch like a frightened squirrel, his dignity stripped away. He hits the ground with a thud. Before he can offer a noble's apology, Ojin cuts him down. Trespassing is a crime, not a mistake. Adrian stammers, desperation in his eyes. He claims his heart only beat for Lulu's safety. Marianne's gaze turns icy. Protocol demands notice. Yet Adrian claims the guards barred his path like iron gates. Ojin's sharp eyes catch a glint of metal, a stethoscope. He scoffs. "Such a cheap toy for a noble house." Shame burns Adrian's face. He admits it is a prototype. Ojin delivers a final lesson on professional standards before turning his back on the amateur. Watching the doctors retreating back, Adrian feels a strange respect bloom. Truly, a man of character, he thinks. Meanwhile, Ojin's inner thoughts are far less kind. "What a bizarre lunatic," he mutters, dismissing the encounter entirely. Twilight falls. A miracle. Lulu begins to eat, life returning to her eyes. Relief washes over Marianne like a soothing tide. Adrian steps closer, his voice soft. "Your love was the elixir she needed," he praises, his eyes lingering on Marianne. But guilt pierces her heart. Marianne admits her pride almost cost a life. "Perhaps," she whispers, "I was jealous of a beast's pure love." Memories flood back. She was once pure, but the poison of high society and status had slowly rotted her innocence. Adrian sighs, gazing at the moon. "That is the curse of our bloodline," he muses. "Nobility is a golden shackle." Marianne's mind drifts to a ghost of the past. her first love, a time when titles meant nothing, and a look meant everything. She sacrificed him on the altar of duty. Now, the question haunts her, is this hollow power truly happiness? Adrian senses his moment. First loves are tragic lessons, he says, stepping into her personal space. They blind us to the devotion standing right beside us. He hints that destiny is closer than she thinks. Something clicks in Marianne's mind. She makes a shocking decision. I will withdraw from the princess selection. Adrian's heart races. This is it. His hand trembles as he reaches into his pocket for the velvet box. The stars align. He kneels, placing his heart and the ring before her, ready to pledge eternity. Disaster strikes. Marianne's eyes burn with determination. I'm going after Ojin, she declares. Adrian freezes, his soul leaving his body. What? She continues, oblivious to the destruction she just caused. Why marry power when I can wield it? And that doctor. He is the key. Adrian stands there, a stone statue of rejection. She smiles brightly, delivering the final blow. Thank you, Adrian. You will always be my greatest friend, friend-zoned into oblivion. Adrian's world shatters. The ring burns in his hand. A dark vow forms in his mind. Ojin, I will never forgive you. Meanwhile, at the clinic, Pio sneezes violently. He reads a missive. Lulu's partner, Kyo, is secure. They beg Ojin to become the royal beast doctor. 10 times the gold, a fortune. But Ojin's face is stone. Refused, he says cold-heartedly. My schedule is already a battlefield. Pio whines like a child. But doctor, this tartar is harder than dragon scales. It has been an hour. Ojin steps in. The patient is a massive serpent. He spots the buildup. Saline cotton now, he commands, entering surgical mode. His instruments clash with the beast's maw. Wait, something glimmers in the darkness. With surgical precision, he extracts a foreign object. The owner weeps with joy. Shamir, you saved him. This is no ordinary snake. It is a sacred beast, a gift from the late king himself. The object clatters to the tray, the family heirloom. The beast had swallowed the treasure whole. Ojin wipes his brow. We are not done. The decay runs deep. Prepare for 1 or 2 more hours of extraction. Selena checks the charts and delivers the nightmare news. Doctor, make that 5 hours. This beast has a second head. Ojin's soul nearly escapes his mouth. 5 hours. The owner beams, shoving a hideous painting in his face to cheer him up. Look, the royal artist captured our bond, the owner exclaims. Do you not feel the majesty? It is an abomination of art. Ojin wants to vomit, but the artist stands there, proud. I will finish this masterpiece soon, he threatens. But beneath the banter, a shadow moves. Selena gasps. Doctor the eyes. Shamir awakes. The sedative has failed. Ojin stares into the abyss of the beast's gaze, realizing the nightmare has only just begun. Selena channels her mana for a protective barrier, but a shadow moves faster. It's Adrian. He steps into the line of fire, taking the spell meant for the beast. Selena gasps, recognizing the noble doctor and wondering why he has appeared from nowhere. Before a single breath can be drawn, Shamir's massive jaws snap shut. The beast consumes Adrian in a single, terrifying gulp, swallowing him whole. A deathly silence falls over the room. The spectators stand paralyzed, their minds unable to process that a man has just been devoured alive right before their eyes. Even though the clinic's doors are barred for the day, the faithful have gathered outside since the break of dawn, desperate for aid. Voices rise in frustration, lamenting the long journey to seek the doctor's divine hands, while others whisper of abandoning hope to visit the village hospital instead. From his vantage point in the shadows, Adrian feels rage boiling in his veins. He cannot forgive Ojin, a man who charms women while daring to claim the title of the spirit of healing. His mind flashes back to a conversation that haunts him, a dialogue with his own assistant. When he asked about the true nature of the spirit, his assistant spoke of a legendary existence, one holding the power to rule the world itself. Adrian had laughed it off as nonsense, pitying Lady Marian for falling for such fairy tales. After all, didn't he embody the image of a spirit far more than that lowly Ojin ever could? And yet, the assistant's words about Ojin's miracles refused to fade from his memory. Healing a flying fish, transforming a demon apostle into a harmless cat, these are feats that defy all logic. The stethoscope around his neck, a gift from our hero, feels like a heavy chain. He recalls the question that pierced his pride. Does he still cherish it? He had scoffed, feigning cold indifference, promising to return it while secretly checking if a replacement existed. The assistant had confirmed it. Now, perched in a tree like a common spy with binoculars, Adrian tries to convince himself he only came to return the tool, but below him, our protagonist is already at work, treating a fearsome hydra. The twin heads sway lethargically as Ojin works with surgical precision, scraping tartar, rinsing with water, and applying medicine to stave off inflammation. Watching the procedure, Adrian swallows his pride. He is forced to admit it, our boy's medical prowess is undeniable. It far surpasses his own, despite his elite status at the Royal Academy. But suddenly the Hydra's tail twitches. The sedation is wearing off. Adrian spots the danger too late as the beast snaps awake and lunges straight for Selena. Without thinking, he dashes forward to shield her, but the Hydra shows no mercy, swallowing him in a single gulp. Panic explodes through the crowd. Ojin freezes for a heartbeat as the owner screams in terror. Selena, realizing the noble doctor has been eaten alive, begins to channel a destructive spell. Stop, our protagonist commands. He spots the symptoms instantly. The Hydra's tongue is turning purple, its airways blocked. It has swallowed something far too large. Recalling a technique from their training days, Ojin and Selena spring into action as one. On his signal, Selena delivers a precise, powerful strike to the beast, forcing it into a desperate Heimlich maneuver. The creature convulses violently. With one final impact, Adrian is launched from its gullet and crashes onto the ground. As the Hydra's breathing returns to normal, the owners weep with relief, praising our hero's godlike skills. But Ojin is focused. He orders Selena to check on the fallen noble immediately. She confirms a pulse. He is alive, though the magic residue from the Gemini Hydra will keep him unconscious for some time. Ojin silently observes that Shamir has stabilized as well, though the emergency procedure has left bruising on its abdomen. Selena gently applies ointment, finishing the dressing with expert hands. As evening falls, our boy lectures the Hydra's owners. His voice is stern. If a pet swallows something, the fault lies solely with the master. They bow profusely, swearing to be vigilant, joking nervously that they will ensure human flesh is never on the menu again. Days later, a package arrives from the Baron, a dramatic painting titled The Great Rescue Operation. Our protagonist dismisses it as bizarre, only to learn that a statue has been erected, immortalizing the moment he pulled Adrian from Shamir's jaws. He sighs, convinced the world has lost its mind. Meanwhile, oblivious to his newfound fame, Adrian sleeps peacefully, watched over by Pio and Selena. By Pio, consciousness returns slowly. Adrian blinks, confused. Where is he? As the fog clears, fragments of memory slot into place. He was spying on the clinic. The snake awakened. He moved to save Selena. The last thing he remembers is being swallowed whole, inside the darkness. A grim thought crosses his mind. What a pathetic end for a vegetarian. If there is a next life, perhaps being reborn as a unicorn alongside a beautiful heroine wouldn't be such a terrible fate. Suddenly, agony spikes through his body. Is this the pain of birth? He begs silently for the suffering to cease. A rough cough escapes his lips, anchoring him back to reality. Selena looms over him, her voice calm as she notes his awakening. Still reeling, Adrian mumbles, asking if she is his owner. She gently scolds him. He must not move just yet. The magical backlash will cause severe dizziness and nausea. He needs strict bed rest for 2 to 3 days. Adrian nods, too weak to argue. Our protagonist steps in, carrying a steaming cup. He orders Adrian to sit up. This medicine is non-negotiable for his recovery. Adrian drinks obediently as Ojin mentions the special ingredient rare mandal leaves added to the brew. He also assures Adrian that Astrid Manor has been notified. He is safe to recover here for as long as he needs. Adrian tries to protest, desperate not to be a burden, but our hero cuts him off. As a doctor, he should know the golden rule: a patient's health comes before pride. Adrian expresses his deepest gratitude, and our boy graciously steps out of the room to let the patient recover in peace. As Ojin disappears through the door, Adrian watches him go, thinking that our protagonist truly is a saint among men. Shame washes over him for his earlier jealousy. He vows to follow in those footsteps, until his eyes land on a piece of paper. An invoice. Loading fee 500 silver. Meal fee 100 silver. Total 686 silver. Adrian stares at the exorbitant sum and curses Ojin's name under his breath. Meanwhile, chaos brews at the clinic. A couple clings to their cat, terrified that the surgery will swap its gender. Our hero sighs, explaining it is merely a figure of speech. The cat is simply being neutered. But the couple recoils, arguing that such a procedure is far too cruel for their beloved pet. Our protagonist patiently counters with the cold hard truth. The cat's vitality is draining away. Raising kittens is exhausting, and the mother's health is deteriorating from constant births. He challenges them to propose a better solution. The owner stammers, insisting that the cat is still young and full of life. Ojin hits them with reality. Do they want to calculate the exponential number of kittens in 5 years? Or are they secretly running a Fennec Fox puppy mill on the side? The owner denies it vehemently, but plays their final card. If they go through with the surgery, what joy will the poor animal have left in its life? Having fought this battle 1,000 times, our hero explains that constant mating accelerates aging and shortens the lifespan. It is a tragedy for both pet and owner. Defeated by logic, the couple leaves with tears in their eyes, finally understanding the gravity of the situation. Pio assures them she will handle the booking. As they depart, our protagonist mutters about needing to schedule his own stress relief soon. He is sick of repeating the same lecture, but there is no rest for the wicked. Pio announces the next patient is her childhood friend's pet and begs him to be extra careful. Ojin promises to do his best. The door opens and a girl steps in. Cradling a massive chicken in her arms for a checkup, our hero's sharp eyes scan the bird. The feathers are glossy, the posture strong. It looks perfectly healthy. Pio chimes in, introducing Pop as the crown jewel of her friend's pets. The girl nods, her chest swelling with pride. 20 minutes later, the examination is complete. Our hero concludes that this chicken is in prime condition, fit to dominate any contest. Yet, the girl remains anxious. She insists Pop looks thinner lately, but Ojin's diagnostic skills confirm there is no weight loss whatsoever. She claims the bird had a seizure in its sleep. Our protagonist shakes his head. It was likely just harmless restlessness, nothing more. She adds that Pop's throat seemed sore yesterday, fearing a deadly infection. Pio steps in, gently reassuring her that such signs are common. After a meticulous inspection, Ojin finds absolutely nothing wrong, but moments later, chaos erupts. Pio rushes in, face pale. Pop has vanished. Tyr explains she stopped by the restroom before leaving, and in that split second, the bird disappeared into thin air. Ojin instantly commands a lockdown, seal every exit and window. Selena orders everyone in the waiting room to freeze. An animal is on the loose. The patients grumble about the confinement, while their own pets begin to grow restless. Sunja steps in to quell the rising panic. The team scours every corner, but the bird is nowhere to be found. Ojin narrows his eyes, asking if Pop has any specific likes or dislikes. Tyr claims ignorance, suggesting Pop already escaped. Our protagonist rejects the idea immediately. A chicken cannot turn doorknobs or phase through glass. It must be inside these walls. Suddenly, Pio remembers a crucial detail. Pop absolutely loves men. Our boy notes that some animals are drawn to lower-pitched voices. Tyr admits Pop's obsession is extreme. A spark of realization flashes in our hero's mind. That explains why the bird clung to him during the exam. Sunja points out there is only one place left unchecked. The room where a man is currently sleeping. They burst into the room and find Pop wrapped tightly around Adrian. Everyone freezes in shock. Ojin turns his cold gaze to Tyr, demanding to know why she staged this charade. He corners Tyr. Why did she deliberately abandon her pet from the very beginning? His instincts told him something was wrong. In his years of practice, he has seen every kind of owner, but never has he met a guardian who looked disappointed to hear their pet was perfectly healthy. He dismantles her story. A chicken, no matter how fast, is too large and conspicuous to slip through heavy doors and navigate these halls unseen. He demands the truth. Now, Tyr breaks down. She confesses she did it because the Baroness would never believe a lowly servant like her. But if the renowned Dr. Ojin claimed Pop was sick and had run away, she would have no choice. Our hero asks who holds such power over her. Tyr whispers the name. The Baroness. Desperation claws at her voice as she begs Ojin for salvation. If the Baroness finds out Pop is healthy, the bird is doomed to be hunted. A grand hunting competition is approaching, hosted by the House of the Baroness to honor a VIP guest. rumored to be Prince Theo himself, and the Baroness has a chilling plan to slaughter and cook Pop for the main feast. A heavy silence descends upon the room. Pio explodes in disbelief. Who in their right mind would eat a beloved pet, especially when the Baroness already owns a flock of fire chickens? Tyr reveals the tragic truth. Those chickens perished last year from a plague. Ojin frowns. There are other ingredients, yet the Baroness is fixated on Pop. Tyr explains the dark allure. Big fire chickens are prized not just for meat, but for their legendary vitality and fertility. They are creatures that lay endless eggs. Noble families obsessed with strengthening their bloodlines believe consuming such a beast is the key to absolute power and vitality. With a cynical gaze, our protagonist observes the twisted nature of humanity, where greed is disguised as superstition to steal what others hold dear. Tyr reveals the heart-wrenching truth. The Baroness has long coveted Pop, and now she threatens to cast them into the streets if they do not surrender the bird. Pio's blood boils with righteous fury, declaring that threatening a family's livelihood to steal a beloved companion is a sin beyond forgiveness. Desperation trembling in her voice, Tyr begs Ojin to forge a medical record claiming Pop carries a plague, convinced that fear alone will keep the bird safe. But our hero stands like an immovable mountain, and his refusal causes a suffocating silence to descend upon the room. His voice cuts through the quiet as he explains that the moment a healer falsifies a diagnosis, they cease to be a doctor and become nothing more than a fraud playing God. He warns that once that sacred line is crossed, the trust between healer and patient is shattered forever. Suddenly, Adrian interjects with blazing eyes, accusing Ojin of placing cold professional pride above the warmth of a living, breathing life. Ojin remains as calm as a still lake, countering that a lie about a contagious plague carries consequences far deadlier than they imagine. The barn would be sealed by the authorities, and every innocent creature within those walls would face a merciless slaughter to contain the fake spread. And when the truth inevitably surfaces, the family would not only face the law, but bear the blame for every future outbreak in the region. He declares with absolute authority that a doctor exists to save lives, but never at the price of sacrificing hundreds to protect a single one. Those who cannot grasp this weight are unfit to wear the white coat, defeated by his logic. Tyr bows her head in silent shame. Outside the clinic, Tyr's composure crumbles into tears, while Pio frantically tries to offer comfort, insisting that the heavens must have another way. Tyr cries out in despair, believing a commoner can never defeat a noble, and resolves to flee into the night with Pop until our protagonist steps from the shadows. His presence commands attention as he tells her to hold her ground. He cannot intervene as a doctor, but as a fellow master of beasts, the game has just changed. Hope reignites in Tyr and Pio's eyes as Ojin lays out his strategy, instructing Tyr to plant a specific rumor. Before turning his sharp gaze toward the eavesdroppers hiding nearby, he commands them to reveal themselves, singling out Adrian, for whom he has crafted the most crucial role in this theater of deception. Meanwhile, at the opulent clay mansion, the air is thick with the poisonous whispers of high society. The guests buzz with the news that Duke Astrid's daughter, Lady Marianne, has unexpectedly withdrawn from the competition to become the prince consort. The Baroness listens with a predatory smirk, realizing her greatest rival has fallen, leaving the path to power wide open for her own bloodline. She hallucinates a glorious future where her daughter stands beside the prince, a perfect vengeance against every noble who ever dared to look down on them. The upcoming banquet will be her battlefield, the stage where she secures her legacy, but her fantasies are shattered when Adrian makes his grand entrance. The Baroness freezes, her breath caught in her throat, completely captivated by the blinding charisma of this unexpected guest. Moving with the grace of a predator stalking its prey, Adrian approaches her and requests a private audience at her table. Caught in his gravitational pull, the Baroness can only stare, wondering if she has fallen into a dream woven by the gods themselves. Bathed in the envious glares of the crowd, she floats on cloud 9, unable to believe such a supreme beauty is soliciting her attention. Desperate to maintain his interest, she asks if he hails from the Royal Academy, and upon his nod, she eagerly presses for details about his connections to the crown. Adrian plays his part perfectly, casually mentioning his familiarity with the royal circle. He drops the bombshell that he frequently crossed paths with Prince Theo during their shared days at the academy. The Baroness's mind races, mentally tearing down her home's decor to match royal tastes, before she greedily inquires about the prince's culinary preferences. Adrian tilts his head with feigned innocence, asking if she intends to personally prepare a feast for royalty. Flustered and embarrassed by her ambition being exposed, she hesitates, but he smooths it over with a silver-tongued reassurance. He leans in, offering to introduce her to his exclusive purveyor, a shadow merchant who deals only in the rarest ingredients for the elite. The Baroness's eyes widen with greed and delight, believing the goddess of fortune has finally smiled upon her. She demands to meet this merchant immediately, convinced this is the golden ticket to her daughter's ascent. Adrian leads her to a modest cottage, introducing it as the covert headquarters of the legendary supplier. The Baroness sneers internally at the shabby exterior, but her judgment is cut short as two figures emerge, introducing themselves with the absurdly grand names of Louis Vuitton and Chanel Ojin and Selena in disguise. Our protagonist welcomes the noblewoman with the practiced charm of a master salesman. Selena chimes in, claiming the Baroness has arrived at a moment destined by fate. Though the noblewoman eyes them with lingering suspicion, Ojin unveils the centerpiece, a glossy, crystallized dessert he calls Tonghulu, claiming it is the latest obsession sweeping through foreign courts. The Baroness inspects the gleaming, ruby-like fruit on the skewer and, with a mix of doubt and curiosity, takes a delicate bite. The world around her seems to shatter, the sugar shell cracks with a resounding crunch, unleashing a torrent of sweet and tart juices that dance on her tongue. It is a divine harmony of acidity and sweetness that defies all logic. Completely conquered by the flavor, she surrenders her suspicions, acknowledging in her heart that these are no ordinary peddlers, but masters of their craft. Seeing she is hooked, Ojin casts his line, whispering of a legendary treasure known only as the Plant of Immortality. The Baroness gasps, but he presses on, revealing the chickpea of eternal youth, a miracle ingredient that reverses time, restoring vitality and vanishing every ailment from aging to hair loss. Completely captivated, the Baroness's eyes gleam with greed. She demands the entire stock immediately, but Ojin shakes his head, claiming every last bean is already spoken for. Adrian steps in, urging him to honor a VIP client. Ojin feigns hesitation, whispering that this batch is destined for a prince's tribute. Panic strikes the Baroness. She desperately asks if this rival intends to marry their daughter to royalty. Ojin nods gravely. She instantly realizes this is a plot to win the prince's favor through divine cuisine. Desperate to crush her competition, she screams that she will pay 10 times the market price. Ojin puts on a mask of nobility. He refuses the gold, preaching that his clinic exists for truth, love, and world peace, not profit. Watching this Academy Award performance, Selena fights back a heavy sigh. The Baroness hangs her head in shame at her own greed. But Adrian strikes again, arguing that true compassion means saving the person standing right in front of them. Tears well in her eyes at his wisdom. With a heavy sigh, our hero finally relents, agreeing to part with the treasure. But as she turns to leave, Ojin stops her with a grave warning. These beans possess the volatile mana of the great big fire chicken, the primordial ancestor of all poultry. To consume them is to invite a curse. If she eats chicken while taking the cure, she will age rapidly and lose every strand of hair on her head. It is a complete lie. Yet, the Baroness turns pale with absolute terror. A life without chicken is hell, but being old is worse. She grits her teeth, accepts the taboo, and secures the goods. Adrian chuckles about the foolishness of the wealthy. Our protagonist smirks, playing along with this charade to ensure total victory. The Baroness nods nervously, denouncing chicken as a relic of the past, and just like that, the scam is complete. Pop is finally safe. Tear radiates relief, bowing deeply to the hero who saved her beloved companion. Ojin waves it off with a humble smile. He reveals a custom-made carrier, funded entirely by the Baroness's generosity. He assures her this will keep Pop safe. Moved to tears, Tyr swears he is her benefactor for life. He laughs, offering his aid any time. Meanwhile, the mandrake fumes in the corner, jealous of the attention Pop is receiving. Seeing an opportunity, Ojin offers Tyr a position at the clinic, and she accepts without hesitation. But peace is short-lived. In a flash, Pop tries to swallow the mandrake whole, plunging the room into chaos. After wrestling the glutton into a cage, our protagonist gives a stern order. Pop is banned from the workplace. Turning to his accomplice Adrian, our hero hands over the settlement for the day's acting. Adrian stares at the coins in shock, but Ojin coldly lists the deductions for lodging and medical fees, leaving a measly 312 silver. Furious, Adrian grabs him by the collar, screaming at the scam artist, but Selena cuts in, reminding him that the treatment actually worked. Adrian's demeanor flips instantly. He showers her with praise, thanking her for the vitality coursing through his veins. Selena promises a follow-up prescription to maintain his peak condition, and he beams with satisfaction. Once the door closes, Selena questions the wisdom of letting such a talent walk away. Our protagonist admits the man has skill. His medical knowledge is sound, and their synergy was undeniable. Yet, he dismisses the idea of hiring him. Selena sighs, remarking that Ojin's greed has blinded him, warning that he will soon regret this loss. Elsewhere, Prince Theo sips his tea with chilling calm. Whispers of the upcoming hunting competition fill the air. Baron Doyle kneels, trembling. He pleads forgiveness, claiming the hospital is too guarded to capture the Monoceros. Theo sneers at his incompetence. He demands action, not excuses. They need a bold strategy. He intends to parade Sunja, the Monoceros, before the world and seize absolute power through its strength. One more failure, and the Baron is finished. Suddenly, a violent crash interrupts the interrogation. The Baron's beast, Magma, goes berserk with hunger. It lunges, snapping at a bowl of chickpeas carried by a passing servant. The wolf devours the beans in seconds. Theo erupts in fury, while the Baron slams his head to the floor, promising to repay the loss tenfold. Back at Ojin's clinic, the atmosphere is calm as a patient wakes from surgery. The staff issue a stern warning. Post-anesthesia is dangerous, and owners must remain vigilant to prevent accidents. Suddenly, Tyr rushes back in. She is worried about Pop's sibling, Chep, who has fallen into a strange lethargy. Ojin activates his diagnostic gaze. It is merely a mild cold and muscle weakness, but he prescribes daily care and warns her not to underestimate it. When Tyr returns the next day, her expression is grim. Not only has there been no improvement found, but her own beloved dog has now fallen victim to the illness. Our protagonist's eyes narrow as he recognizes the exact same symptoms jumping across species. He immediately orders the hospitalization of both animals to stop the spread, but within days, the nightmare scenario begins to loop. Creatures from completely different households begin pouring in, all bearing the identical, ominous signs of infection. The truth hits our hero like a cold splash of water. This is no simple cold. He barks urgent orders to the pet owners: cover your faces, sanitize your hands, and wear gloves. He instantly establishes a tactical quarantine, isolating the symptomatic beasts on the second floor while shielding the healthy ones on the ground level. Although the symptoms appear deceptively mild, the medication brings zero progress. The disease is a ruthless predator, entirely indifferent to whether its prey is canine, feline, or avian. Selena's voice drops to a whisper as she issues a chilling warning. At this rate, the outbreak will become a catastrophe, devastatingly. Her prediction becomes reality in record time. The clinic is besieged by a flood of desperate owners, tears streaming as they plead for salvation. Forced to make hard choices, our protagonist watches helplessly as every medical facility in the vicinity hits its breaking point. Even the aristocracy is not safe. Lord Baron bursts in, panic etched on his face, clutching his indoor pet, Elizabeth, insisting she couldn't possibly be infected. But the culprit is quickly unveiled: a newly acquired turtle, silent and unassuming, acted as the carrier for this invisible enemy. Desperate for a solution, Baron asks about available space. A vacant building in the back alley is immediately offered as a makeshift triage center. Grasping the sheer scale of the crisis, our hero accepts the loan. Suddenly, the weight of the world settles on his shoulders as he runs two facilities simultaneously, fighting a war on two fronts without a single ally. Meanwhile, over at Adrian's high-class hospital, the silence is deafening. He stares at the empty ward, confused by the scarcity of patients. His assistant delivers the grim news: the town is under siege by a plague, and a call for support is inevitable. Just then, a letter from Ojin arrives. It brings spare medicines and equipment, accompanied by a blunt offer: 2 gold coins per hour and a potential performance bonus. Strictly business. Strictly. Adrian initially bristles at the audacity, his pride flaring as he prepares to incinerate the presumptuous letter. But then, his eyes catch a specific line: Selena has collapsed from exhaustion. That single sentence pierces his arrogance. Conscience overrides his noble pride. Adrian declares his departure, vowing to stay until this pandemic is eradicated. His logic is absolute where disaster strikes. A doctor is duty-bound to stand on the front lines. His assistant falls silent, awed by the gravity of his resolve. As the first epidemic sweeps across the land, Pio gathers the staff within the clinic, announcing a strict lockdown protocol. Any beast showing even the slightest symptom is to be quarantined immediately, and all unnecessary movement is banned. The investigation begins, tracking exactly when each patient's cough started. The medical records pile up like a mountain of despair. Adrian proves his worth, examining patients for 12 grueling hours non-stop. He notes the swollen throats, his expertise allowing him to rule out the epidemic in some lucky cases. Selena is pushing past human limits, buried in drug testing for 26 straight hours, while our protagonist tends to a frail rabbit. After 18 hours of continuous treatment, he gently concludes the checkup, the heavy blanket of exhaustion suffocating the entire staff. Schwinn bursts in with Max, delivering devastating news. 2 more cases have erupted among the prize hunting dogs scheduled for the championship. The inpatient ward is bursting at the seams. Tyr delivers the crushing report to our boy: there is no more room. Yet, Ojin refuses to accept defeat. He insists on finding space where there is none, swearing to find a cure and assuring everyone that they will not fail. Schwein bows in gratitude. While Adrian questions the sanity of the operation, why keep admitting patients when the fortress is full? Our hero answers not with words, but with unwavering resolve. He will turn no soul away. Pio reports that some guardians are demanding to discharge their pets, dismissing the deadly cough as harmless noise. Ojin shuts that down instantly, explaining that negligence now equals a death sentence later. It would lead to irreversible damage, especially for working animals like hunting dogs. Once they lose their value, they would be discarded like trash. He stands firm in his belief every life deserves equal care, regardless of its utility or price tag. Deep into the dead of night, our protagonist attempts a desperate gambit: antibiotics infused with the dragon's power, but every attempt ends in bitter failure. Selena warns him to cease before the overuse of dragon energy stops his own heart. He curses the mana instability, his mind wandering to alternative medicine in desperation. Selena points out the terrifying truth: he has not slept in 3 days. Without another word, she knocks him unconscious for a mandatory recharge. 5 hours later, Ojin wakes in a daze, being spoon-fed fresh food by a worried Tyr. He realizes the egg comes from Pop, a chicken who remains miraculously healthy. Tyr notes that both Pop and Sunja are untouched by the sickness. Suddenly, the gears in our hero's mind lock into place. He runs a mental simulation: shared traits, diet, blood type, temperament, until his gaze lands on Sunja. Sunja is being spat on by the Mandre plant, just as the Mandre spat on Pop. That is the key. Sunja and Pop were immunized by the plant's fluids, using a sample of Mandre saliva mixed with the infection. Ojin watches the gray, dying experimental leaves turn a vibrant green. A cure is born. The clinic erupts in a wave of relief as our protagonist and the team praise the Mandre for saving countless lives. But now, a new challenge rises: mass production. The team debates the extraction method, pressing diluting, but Selena takes charge, preparing a sweet nutrient cocktail mixed with powerful diuretics. The Mandre gulps it down eagerly, and within moments, the life-saving saliva drips from its leaves in glorious abundance. Ojin marveled at the incredible speed essence extraction was complete, and synthesis had begun. By the time the sun rose, the plague's grip was finally broken. Max's hacking cough ceased, and life returned to his eyes. A wave of relief washed over our protagonist as he administered the final life-saving vaccines. But the moment he signed the last prescription, thunderous knocking shook the clinic's frame. Outside, a voice boomed like a judge's gavel. The Baron had arrived to demand our hero's arrest, drawing a confused crowd to witness the spectacle. Ojin opened the door with ice-cold calm. The noble sneered, accusing him of spreading the plague to line his own pockets with treatment fees. Our hero's face hardened into stone. Remembering the lie he spun to protect Sunja, he pointed to the fading M-shaped mark on the beast's fur as absolute proof of his success. But he knew the truth. The charges were fake. The Baron's greedy eyes were fixed solely on capturing Sunja. Pio stepped forward to defend Ojin's honor, only to be crushed by the Baron's furious dismissal. Our protagonist silenced the room. He would go willingly, but only after sedating the beast. The Baron hesitated, then nodded. Ojin quietly signaled Selena for a magical extraction, but the elf misunderstood the plan completely, preparing for physical combat instead. With Sunja secured in the cage, a subtle mana light flickered from our hero's ring. The signal was given. Selena didn't cast a spell. She threw a devastating haymaker. The guard crumpled, and she vanished into the crowd with Sunja in her arms. "Forget the doctor. Get the cat," the Baron roared. Our hero smirked. His suspicions were confirmed. The noble seized Ojin by the collar, promising ruin, but Pio stood firm, refusing to let the clinic fall. Adrian joined the wall of defense. Under the judgment of the public eye, the Baron had no choice but to back down. As the guards dragged him away, our boy left his legacy in their hands, praying Selena could keep the little one safe. Poisonous whispers flooded the city. Ojin, the slayer of the Monoxus, was now painted as the plague's architect. The Baron declared a public trial, turning the city into a theater of judgment. In the cold darkness of his cell, our protagonist finally rested. That is, until the Baron returned, flanked by his snarling wolves. Ojin kept his mouth shut. His silence was a victory lap. He knew his friends were already gone. The noble threatened torture, pointing to his beasts. But our hero noticed something else. Magma was trembling, crippled by hidden agony. His eyes scanned the creature. Lethargy, blood in the urine. The symptoms were screaming at him. It was a severe inguinal hernia, neglected for years. Immediate surgery was the only path between life and death. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Selena struggled to contain a restless Sunja. She held tight, whispering promises of safety with steel in her voice. Their hero would be fine. Back in the cell, the prisoner became the commander. Ojin ordered an emergency transfer and demanded surgical tools instantly. His authority was absolute, cutting through the dungeon's gloom. Anesthesia administered, site sterilized. Our hero's hands moved with the precision of a god. The Baron watched, sweat beading on his brow, as a servant hurriedly dressed the doctor in protective gear. Our protagonist conducted the surgery like a symphony, barking orders for vitals and sterilization without missing a beat. The Baron stood paralyzed, his doubt warring with the skill displayed before him. He questioned the diagnosis until a ghost from the past emerged, his mother. She had died showing these exact signs. Looking at her portrait, the truth hit him like a physical blow. The condition was hereditary. While the surgery raged, the Baron's office was flooded with petitions demanding Ojin's freedom. Even the Astrid family weighed in, threatening to expose the Baron's corruption to the king himself if the doctor wasn't released. Panic spread among the staff as the political backlash mounted. Meanwhile, in the operating room, the final stitch was placed. The Baron rushed forward. His companion was breathing. Ojin calmly listed the post-op protocol. 1 week of medication, come back for suture removal. It was just another day at the office for him. But the adrenaline finally faded. Exhaustion crashed over our hero like a tidal wave, and he collapsed into a deep slumber. Seeing the raw wounds from the handcuffs, the Baron felt a pang of shame and ordered them removed forever. In his sleep, Ojin drifted far away. He returned to the warmth of his past life. His mother's voice worried over the struggling clinic. His father's disappointment echoed, scolding him for choosing veterinary medicine over human glory. "Why waste your talent on beasts?" they asked. Yet, in the dream, our hero felt only a profound sense of peace. A creature approached, part lion, part cat, pressing its warm fur against him. It was the only validation he ever needed. Elsewhere, the air crackled with tension as Theo cornered the Baron about the missing Monocaros. The Baron stammered his defense. He claimed the Athetheran Order had snatched it, exposing Selena as a double agent in league with the Shadow Elves. Theo's fury detonated. He looked down on the Baron, spitting venom at his sheer incompetence. Trembling, the Baron changed tactics, begging for guidance on Ojin while citing the rising tide of outrage from the masses. Sick of the drama, Theo waved him off, leaving the decision in his hands. And just like that, the cage doors opened for our hero. Even as he left, he remained the perfect doctor, ordering them to return with magma in 3 days for the stitches and tossing them a strict care regimen. Duty never sleeps. He promised to treat a lame hunting hound next, but as he stepped into the sunlight, a familiar sight awaited him. His heart swelled. They weren't just waiting, they were ready to burn the castle down if he hadn't walked out that second. Gratitude filled his voice. Suddenly, Sunja, Mandre, and Pop launched themselves at him, burying him in a pile of pure joy. And there was Selena, safe, radiating warmth as she held Sunja close. As our hero looked at her, a memory from his dreams flashed before his eyes. That silhouette, it was her. In that moment, he knew without a doubt that choosing this path of healing was his true destiny. High above, the Baron watched like a hawk. His servant shivered, unable to believe they were letting such a threat walk free. The Baron's eyes narrowed on the reunion. The servant stammered on, insisting that a miracle or perhaps a curse had occurred in that cell. The legendary Monocaros didn't just vanish, it showed affection to the doctor first, a beast bowing to a human. The Baron scoffed outwardly, but fear took root in his heart. He knew the truth. He had lost this war to Ojin. Days later, the final blow arrived. Not a sword, but an astronomical medical bill. The Baron crushed the paper, his knuckles turning white as he swore eternal vengeance. The next morning brought a different guest. Adrian arrived with a flourish, presenting rare herbs to Selena like a courtier. From the shadows, Ojin watched closely. Why was this noble haunting his clinic again? Selena gasped winter herbs in full bloom. Adrian puffed his chest, declaring that for him, the impossible was merely a suggestion. She handed him another impossible request, and he snatched it up like a holy scripture. As she checked the goods, Adrian praised a specific sprig of spinach, only to find he was holding nothing but thin air. The thief revealed himself. It was Bloop, the gelatinous menace, happily munching on the prize. Adrian tried to scold the beast, but Bloop wasn't having it. He bit the noble's finger, multiplied into 3, and delivered a humiliating slap across his face. Rubbing his cheek, Adrian hissed, "Like master, like pet." Everything raised by our hero had a terrible attitude. Selena cut him off. She claimed Bloop as her own child, forcing Adrian to instantly backpedal and praise the creature's palate. Bloop flashed a wicked smirk. Adrian froze, realizing this was no mindless animal. It was mocking him. Selena caged the rascal, but appearances were deceiving. This wasn't just Bloop. This was Ping Ping, a being of immense hidden depth. In his mind, he wasn't a pet, he was a king, and the second-floor herb room was his sovereign domain. Countless beasts passed through these halls, but only 2 apex predators held true power here, himself and Kim Sunja, the clinic's enforcer. She was a physical monster, yet even she knew better than to cross him. Hidden in his forehead was the Vision Core, a divine artifact capable of infinite cloning and raining destruction upon his enemies. Sunja had challenged him once, a foolish mistake. He unleashed his power, crushing her will until she submitted. Now, he lived in luxury under Selena's grace, ruling the clinic alongside his former rival. Suddenly, chaos erupted. An owner burst in, cradling a pet crushed by a carriage, begging for a miracle. Ojin moved like lightning, airway clear, pulse gone. He began compressions with machine-like precision. The owner cried out in doubt, but Ojin didn't falter. He pumped life back into the small chest until a cough broke the silence. It was breathing. The owners fell to their knees in worship. Even Ping Ping watched from his cage, stunned by our hero's power over death itself. Ojin turned, demanding a single leaf from Mandal. Ping Ping scoffed. Mandal was nothing but a servant's servant, a dancing fool unworthy of attention. He threw a taunt, expecting fear. Ignored Night fell, and Ping Ping channeled his rage into training. He ran the wheel until he split into 3, a one-blob army. He surveyed his kingdom, a cozy sanctuary gifted by the master himself. A monument to their bond. It was perfect. Until he saw the ruins, his fortress was destroyed. His eyes locked onto Mandal, who dared to smirk in the shadows. Fury blinded him. That smirk was a confession of war. But Mandal had changed. Empowered by the herbs, he didn't flinch. Ping Ping screeched a challenge to his subordinate and launched the first strike. Mandal weaves through the air with desperate agility. Ping Ping loses control and crashes hard. Scanning his opponent, Ping Ping scoffs. Mandal might have leveled up his physical stats, but without his spirit vessel, he is nothing but a rootless weed doomed to wither. A devastating strike. The porcelain prison shatters. Mandal collapses, his fortress reduced to dust and despair. Bow before your king, but Mandal refuses to yield, eyes burning with fury. He charges his ultimate technique, a sonic scream to rupture eardrums. Ping Ping senses the killing intent. He tries to defend, but tragedy strikes. His stubby limbs cannot reach his ears, but the roar is merely a whimper. The attack fails. Ping Ping cackles, relishing his absolute victory over the silent plant. Suddenly, a presence fills the room. Our hero steps into the chaos. One look at the shattered remains, and the situation is clear. He kneels beside the broken spirit. With a touch as gentle as the spring breeze, he promises salvation. Ojin gathers the shards. A knowing smile touches his lips. It is time for a rebirth. A massive dose of super growth serum is injected. Mandal expands, growing 1.5 times larger in mere seconds. A larger vessel is prepared, filled with S-rank soil and enriched with divine organic nutrients. But the transplant fails to settle. Mandal's aura is fading. Ojin scans for a pulse, confusion clouding his mind. Selena moves without warning. She rips a leaf from his stem. "What are you doing?" The main character spins around in shock. A piercing shriek tears through the silence. Eardrums ring as they recoil in pain, but as the echo fades, Mandal's energy plummets to critical levels. The diagnosis is grim. Separation from his vessel has sealed his voice. But Ojin knows time will heal this wound. Dawn brings despair. Mandal is withering away. His life force drains rapidly, graying before their eyes. Panic sets in. Is this the end? Selena suggests a mana boost, grasping at straws. "Stop." Pio steps forward, her voice cutting through the ignorance. "You fools. The soil replacement was too drastic to a spirit plant. That earth was his very soul." Shock has ravaged his system. One more moment of delay, and his cultivation would have shattered forever. Pio seizes command of the operation. Emergency protocols initiated. Strip the leaves to save moisture. Isolate him in the shadows. All photosynthesis must cease immediately. Ojin whispers a vow of survival. Late that night, under the cold moonlight, silent tears fall from a broken stem. Oblivious to the tragedy, Ping Ping waddles in. He demands playtime, asking for a sparring match. Too slow, Ojin intercepts the attack. But then, a sudden revelation strikes him. "You little glutton. The missing spirit herbs were in his stomach all along. No wonder he has grown so fat." Ping Ping bites down in defiance, but justice arrives swiftly. Sunja delivers a thunderous smack to his skull. Impact triggers the seal. The mark erupts with blinding light. Ojin senses a catastrophic energy surge. The artifact responds. His necklace hums with ancient power, trapping the beast in a barrier of light. The division core is destabilizing. The necklace devours the overflowing mana. Ojin is thrown back by the spiritual pressure. A stray wave of pure energy lashes out. It strikes the dying plant. Instantaneously, life blooms from death. Vitality explodes from within. Mandal is not just healed, he is evolving. He sways to the rhythm of the universe. Selena analyzes the phenomenon. The core's power forced hypercellular mitosis, a complete regeneration miracle. Pio sighs, the weight of the world lifting. Ojin chuckles, the crisis finally averted. Selena cradles the drained glutton. His core is stable, but his pride is damaged. Ojin issues a decree. No more snacking on Mandal's spirit leaves. The division core saved the day. But Selena whispers the truth. All glory belongs to her mysterious master. Deep in the western forest, a legend whispers through the trees. The tale of the legless beauty. A vision of a lure from afar. But up close, a nightmare. Razor teeth in a body that ends in nothingness. She crawls, dragging her cursed form, drawn to the sound of weeping infants. A mother's madness turned into a demon. Pio swears on her life it is real. Ojin scoffs, just superstitious nonsense. Pio stands her ground, but the hero demands proof. Who has seen this phantom and lived? Then, Selena speaks. I have seen the signs. Last week, in the shadows of the forest, drag marks on the earth. An aura so terrifying, even the beast fled, leaving the herbs ripe for the taking. Unease creeps into Ojin's heart, shattered by a sudden, jagged scratching at the door. Pio jumps, and Selena whispers the obvious someone is out there. Ignoring their warnings to stay back, she throws the door open, but it is not an enemy, it is Max. The protagonist freezes. Clenched in Max's jaws are the tattered clothes of Mr. Schwinn. Fear grips him. Schwinn is in danger. He chases Max into the darkness, only to find the man standing there, safe and sound. Schwinn greets him casually, relieved. Ojin catches his breath. It turns out the evidence was just a shred of Max's favorite toy. The realization hits. The dog was not warning of danger. He was simply bored and lonely from neglect. Deep in the forest, Ojin spots Schwinn working late into the night. He points upward. A helpless kitten is tangled in a net high above. His face darkens as he explains, "Ruthless poachers have infested the western woods, turning the forest into a minefield of traps. The poor creature is out of reach." Schwinn rushes off to find a pole, leaving Ojin alone in the gloom. That is when he sees it. Deep, jagged gouges mar the tree bark scars left by something powerful. Schwinn returns, his voice grim. The footprints are wrong. They belong to a beast that crawls using only its front legs. A chill runs down their spines. The ghost story is coming true. Suddenly, a mournful cry pierces the silence. "Stop it!" Ojin hisses, dread pooling in his stomach. Schwinn denies making a sound, yet the weeping draws closer. A shadow emerges from the mist. They freeze, expecting the legless nightmare, but the moonlight reveals a fox. Horror dawns on Ojin. Its hind legs are mangled, dragging uselessly behind it. Above, the kitten cries, and the fox snarls, clawing at the tree in a frenzy. The main character's eyes widen. The beast is hunting. It intends to devour the trapped kitten. The crying intensifies. The net snaps. Ojin dives forward, his reflexes screaming as he catches the cage inches from the ground. Heart pounding, he peers inside, but reality is cruel. It is not a kitten at all. It is a fox cub, cold and lifeless. A murderous aura spikes behind him. The mother fox stands ready to kill. Ojin curses. He let his guard down. Bang, a tranquilizer dart strikes true. Selena steps from the shadows, dropping the beast before it can strike. She rushes to check the protagonist, sighing with relief to find him unharmed. Curiosity had drawn her here, chasing rumors of a monster. Instead, she found a legend of fallen celestial fox. Ojin activates his diagnostic gaze. This is no ordinary animal, but her body is a ruin, riddled with gunshot wounds on her shattered legs. Selena's expression softens into pity. The signs are clear. This mother gave birth not long ago. Her glands are swollen, yet dry. She has not nursed in days. The tragedy begins to take shape. The truth hits Ojin like a physical blow. The corpse in the net was her child. Hunters killed it, cursing that it was not a rare adult. Greed drove them. Even a dead cub's white fur was worth gold in their eyes. But a mother's wrath is absolute. She lunged from the shadows, her scream terrifying the hunters into fleeing for their lives. In the haunting silence, she crawled to her fallen child. But fate played a cruel trick. A small kitten emerged, meowing beside the body. Broken, she curled around her dying cub in the cold rain. As darkness fell, the mother opened her eyes to a nightmare. While she slept, the kitten returned. The baby fox, clinging to life, crawled to play, until the trap snapped shut, ensnaring them both. The mother awoke to hell. Her child was dangling just out of reach, and she could only scream helplessly from the ground below. Back in the present, chaos erupts in the clinic. The mother fox thrashes with primal fury. Ojin struggles to restrain her, wincing as fangs sink into his arm. With lightning speed, he jams a sedative into her neck. The tension leaves her body. He exhales, barely stopping her from ripping her own stitches apart. Morning light breaks, but a guttural growl chills the waiting room. Sunjaw creeps forward, peeking fearfully toward the source of the sound. 3 days have passed since the celestial fox was brought in. It is a losing battle. Every time she wakes, she goes berserk. Her body is already fighting off the sedatives. Pio whispers, the painful question, does she not know her child is gone? The protagonist shakes his head. The cub had been dead for days. A mother's instinct is sharp. She knew. She had to know. Ojin watches the wounds tear open again. Her body refuses to heal because her soul is broken. Trauma is not unique to humans. Locked in a prison of memory and rage, she attacks everything, even herself. Meanwhile, the kitten rescued from the same hell has recovered. But like a fragile spirit, it requires constant vigilance. The hero commands Pio to monitor the temperature. Keep it away from the fox, he warns. It is too dangerous. Pio nods, swapping the cold water bottle for warmth. But the kitten mews softly, its gaze fixed on the mother fox's cage with a strange longing. When Pio returns with the heating pad, her blood runs cold. The cage door hangs wide open. The kitten has vanished. Terror grips her heart as she spots the tiny creature inside the predator's den, curled up against the fox's warm body. Pio screams for our protagonist, fearing a massacre. With the fox's mind so unstable, a single sudden movement could mean death. But as they burst into the room, a miracle greets them. The kitten is pressed against the beast, nursing quietly. The fox begins to stir. Her golden eyes flutter open, and a single tear tracks through her fur. Instead of violence, she lowers her head, grooming the tiny life with gentle affection. Time seems to freeze. The room falls silent, witnessing a wounded hunter finding salvation in the innocence of a child. By the next day, life returns to the clinic. The kitten streaks across the floor, claiming Pio's glove as the spoils of war. Pio sighs, reaching for it, but stops. The little rascal is heading straight for the fox's sanctuary. She decides to let him keep the trophy. But the true miracle is the fox herself. Her recovery, once stalled, has accelerated beyond medical explanation. Flesh that refused to heal now knits together perfectly. The nightmares that haunted her sleep have finally dissolved into peace. Pio stares in disbelief. The creature they thought was crippled forever is moving its paws. The nerves are regenerating. Our hero watches with a solemn smile. He knows he cannot undo the cruelty of mankind, but today, he has restored a fragment of what was stolen. The day of freedom arrives. The fox and the kitten stand at the edge of the forest, ready to return to their world. He watches them go in silence, a prayer in his heart that they never face such suffering again. The fox pauses, glancing back one last time. A silent vow of gratitude passes between them before she melts into the shadows of the trees. Soon, the terrifying rumors of the western forest vanish. In their place, a legend is born. The tale of a white guardian fox and the small cat that never leaves her side. Back at the clinic, peace is short-lived. Mandre stretches his leaves proudly in his pot, demanding the admiration of the masses. Visitors whisper in awe at the strange, radish-like plant moving on its own. Is this the hospital's guardian spirit? Some claim it must be a legendary mandrake. Others argue the true ruler here is the terrifying cat known to silence beasts with a glare. Enraged by the lack of respect, Mandre stomps towards Sunjaw's food bowl and flips it over, a declaration of war. The crowd gasps in horror. Has the plant gone mad? Challenging the queen of the clinic is a death sentence. The atmosphere grows heavy as Sunjaw appears. Her eyes flash with danger. Mandre freezes, realizing his fatal mistake. She lunges, but instead of a killing strike, she convulses and coughs up a massive hairball right on top of him. Confusion reigns until our protagonist steps in. He calmly explains the mechanics of grooming and digestion, diffusing the tension. But as he looks at Sunjaw, guilt strikes him. He's been so busy, he hasn't brushed her in weeks. It is time for a grooming session. An hour passes, and the fur keeps coming. The shedding pile is a mountain, and our hero begins to panic. Is she going bald? Suddenly, he spots it. A patch of bare skin. His heart sinks. Could it be fungal dermatitis? Shame burns through him. A veterinarian who missed a skin disease on his own companion, unforgivable. He retrieves a legendary item, crafted by the town's finest artisan. It is the world's first manual pet clipper. It might be overkill, but he cannot take chances. The treatment begins now. The moment the blades touch her, Sunjaw hisses and scrambles away, but the doctor refuses to yield. This is a battle of wills. A vet must never back down, not even against a beast of myth. He steels his resolve, whispering soothing words while applying firm restraint. Sunjaw cries out in protest, but he presses on, determined to save her skin. And then, the impossible happens. Her neck begins to shine. Blinding light explodes outward, flooding the clinic. Our protagonist stumbles back as a complex magic circle unfurls beneath her paws. Space distorts, and from the center of the light, Kalian steps forth, not a hologram, but the mage himself in the flesh. Later, over a cup of tea, our hero explains the chaos. Kalian listens, amused, and reveals the truth. Sunjaw is not sick. She is a monoceros, and this is her cycle of evolution. A time where they shed their old coats completely. But there is a catch. To renew her vitality, she must bathe in the purified waters of the pond of Sable. Without it, her fur will never return. Our hero freezes. The clinic's mascot, the adorable face of his business, bald forever. This is a catastrophe. Kalian sips his tea calmly. He explains that physically, she will be fine. But aesthetically, she will remain hairless until the cycle corrects itself. This reassurance does nothing to quell our hero's determination. He slams his hand on the table. He will find this pond of sable. He will save his companion's dignity. Kalian smiles. The pond of sable is not a place on a map. It is a phenomenon. A lake overflowing with mana. It is the hunting ground of the sable seals, and finding it will be no small feat. One such sanctuary exists in the Bmore region, but it lies deep within a restricted zone ruled by the Athatheran Order, a death trap for any ordinary traveler. Yet, our protagonist remains completely unfazed. He commands they depart at first light. Selena voices her fears, warning that the path is paved with peril, but Kalian steps forward, agreeing to serve as their guide. He inquires about the clinic's safety, but Ojin dismisses the worry instantly the patients will survive. Adrian has been entrusted with the domain in his absence. By dawn, they breach the edge of the western forest. The land here feels like a living myth, dense, suffocatingly quiet, and haunted by the whispers of countless ghosts. Ethereal lights dance between the ancient trees, and the very air vibrates with the hum of raw mana. This is a realm where few dare to tread. Suddenly, they spot a crimson flower slithering across the ground, and Kalian grimly notes that the lake is near. Ojin crouches to inspect a peculiar blossom, marveling at its alien geometry, but Selena's voice cuts through the silence, a sharp warning to stay back. Those are sable seals plants that release lethal toxins the moment they are disturbed. And they are merely one of 1,000 deaths hiding among the roots. Suddenly, Sunja trots forward with chest puffed out, a serpent dangling limply from her jaws. Our hero beams, bending down to praise his hunter, while Selena cautiously extracts the kill. But as the creature is revealed, horror strikes. The serpent bears the distorted, agony-filled visage of a human of face, snake rare, grotesque, and deadly. A chill runs down Ojin's spine at the sight. He wastes no time securing Sunja inside her carrier, ensuring the little troublemaker stays out of the jaws of death. Kalian lets out a low chuckle, observing that the feline looks thoroughly insulted by this imprisonment. Finally, they arrive. The lake's surface burns with a soft, supernatural luminescence, mana swirling in the depths like liquid starlight. Even Ojin, a man who has stared down the impossible, finds himself struck speechless by the majestic view. Hypnotized by the spectral beauty, he resolves to enter the waters alone. Kalian protests, sensing the danger, but Ojin's will is absolute. Felines are notoriously volatile when exposed to raw elements. The presence of strangers would only trigger panic. She barely tolerated a simple grooming session. A bath in this mana-dense water could invite chaos. Kalian sighs and relents, invoking the ancient blessing of the water spirits. He chants the sacred verses of Celestian, and a barrier of light envelops Ojin, granting him gills that shimmer faintly under the mana's glow. Now invincible against the crushing depths, our hero takes a steady breath, steeling his resolve. Muttering a nervous joke about preferring unconsciousness to this ordeal, he gathers Sunja in his arms. With gentle coaxing and treats, they descend into the glowing abyss. The moment the cat's paws touch the surface, a miracle occurs. Instead of panic, a serene calm washes over her features. Ojin watches in awe. A realization strikes him like lightning. Could she be the legendary water attribute cat? The mythical beast said to appear only to bloodlines that have performed 3 generations of saintly deeds. Sunja glides through the water, her fur gleaming like flowing quicksilver. The sight melts Ojin's composure, making him ache for the lost artifacts of his modern life. Cameras, smartphones, anything to capture this divine moment forever. The lake sparkles around them, bubbles of pure mana rising and bursting like carbonated light. As our protagonist brushes her coat, the fur begins to peel away in translucent waves, as if she is shedding her very essence to be reborn. Ojin is captivated by the transformation until disaster strikes. The soap slips from his grasp, drifting toward a cluster of strange flora. Instinct takes over. He reaches out to catch it, realizing too late that his hand has brushed against the deadly Celsia. Agony flashes through his veins, the world dissolves into a blur, and the water collapses into absolute darkness. When Ojin opens his eyes, the lake is gone. He stands in an unfamiliar void, whispering in disbelief as he scans the empty horizon. Then, a heavy weight presses on his shoulder. He turns slowly to find a massive lion towering over him, its golden eyes burning with an ancient, unblinking calm. His blood runs cold. The question dies on his lips. Who or what is this entity standing before him?